All right, guys. Well, actually, let me test the audio and make sure you guys can hear me. Test, 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 test. All right, looks good. So I'm just getting everything shared out here. Give me just a minute or two more. We'll go ahead and get this started. If as you guys are joining and gals are joining, let us know you're here. Let me know you're here by saying hi in the comments below. Give me just a couple minutes, and I'll get basically what I'm doing right now, just sharing everything out across Facebook, different pages, that sort of thing. Let me know what you guys think about this intro. It's not really an intro, right? But the preview screen to where I kind of give you guys the multicam view of this camera here and that camera up there, kind of give you a behind the scenes look, rather than just giving you guys the countdown timer that just sits and scrolls. Not too interesting to look at. Maybe this is a little more interesting. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I'm gonna keep sharing this out. Give me a couple minutes, and we'll get this thing started. All right, looks like we got it all shared out. I'm going to start closing some windows here. Keep the important ones open. Make sure the YouTube stream looks good. Go to live control room on YouTube. All right, yeah, looks like it is up and running. Looks like the stream is active. Stream health is healthy, so it's always good. All right, very good. Go ahead and switch this to program. Switch it to show. Get rid of the keyboard for now. Try to tidy this up a little bit. What do you think? All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another Ask the Expert live Q&A. We don't have a guest today. Today, you just get me. Once in a while, I like to come on just me by myself and just focus on answering your guys' questions. A lot of times, and then occasionally we'll bring on experts. Last week was actually Al Martin's. So the gentleman that has the post saver and fence armor, I think there's a really interesting conversation. If you guys missed that live Q&A, be sure to check that out. Al is a wealth of information, and we're going to have Al on again later. Probably either later this month or first part of next month. And we're going to talk about the NAFCA, the North American Fence Contractors Association. What's different about it, and what makes it different from the AFA. So, of course, towards the end of this month, we're going to have on Caleb Roth with Stain and Seal Experts, answering all your staining and sealing questions direct from the expert. And, of course, we have other experts on just occasionally as we go. So if you guys can think of someone that you'd like to have on the show, you'd like to see interviewed and answering your guys' questions, be sure to leave those in the comments below. I'm always willing to have new people on to bring you guys the most value possible. With that being said, let's go ahead and say hello. Let's see who's here. Split Rock Fence, first one in the chats. It's Split Rock here. Welcome. Thank you for coming back. Keto is here again. Welcome. Thank you for coming back. Appreciate it. Been here just almost every week, it seems like, and I really appreciate that. Speaking of somebody that's here every week, Landmark Creation, stopping in before I head out to build another fence. Have a great live stream, Joe. Thank you so much. Best of luck on your fence. Fishing and Picking is back. Is camera 4 the porcelain god, the throne, the man's office, a.k.a. the restroom? I don't know. Let's see. Which one is camera 4? Nope, there is no camera 4. So, I don't know. Should we add a camera 4? What other angle can we do around here? We've got, so camera 1's here. Camera 2 is kind of over the shoulder look up there, give you kind of an overall view. Camera 3, so camera 3 is just the green screen, so I can pop up things like in the lower thirds. And one of these, hey, we're starting soon, or sometimes we'll do a ticker on the bottom, and it might not do it with the lower thirds. Let's see. No, not going to want to do it. We can also do a timer. Anyway, so that the green screen is what gets all of that good stuff up here on the screen. There we go. So no camera 4. What would you guys like a camera 4? I don't even know what other view we would have here. I don't think we're going to put it in the man's office or the porcelain guy or the throne room. That's probably not a great look. I think there's privacy concerns with that as well, probably. But yeah, let me know if you guys want a 4th camera view. Let me know. We can also, I don't know. I like to try things, right? I like to keep things interesting here on the channel. So, we could do, let me see here. So it's a neat intro view. I don't know if that's really that interesting view for like once the show gets started. I think there's just a lot going on there. The dynamic range isn't great on it's an A6400. So it kind of looks blown out with the bright colors. But yeah, if you guys want another camera angle, let me know. Always happy to figure it out. Walter, welcome back. Thank you, sir. Now, Walter's been on here quite a lot. Actually, if I remember right, Walter, during one of the live streams a few weeks ago, I believe you bought a bunch of those Post Saver sleeves. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's right. Liam, what is up? Hey, mate, watching from Australia. Very good to have you. Cheers, they might say. Hey, in one of my, which video was it? Was it a New Zealand video maybe? I guess I pronounced Australia incorrectly. Everyone thought I said Austria, but definitely meant Australia. Definitely know New Zealand is there next to its cousins or brothers there in Australia. Welcome, Liam. I really appreciate it. So Liam would probably get this. So today's video, the recorded video that I'll post after this live is done, is a Scott Brown carpentry. So in the New Zealand video, probably the number one comment we got was, you got to review Scott Brown Carpentry's video on building fence. I did. Holy concrete mess is all I'm going to say. It was something to see. But Liam, welcome. Appreciate you coming in all the way from Australia. Wolf Commander, we installed a 6-foot black chain link with 2 15-foot swing open gates, 1 slider, huge. Yeah, 15-foot, 2 15-foot, so like a 30-foot opening. Pretty good sized. 6-foot black. Those is probably a commercial project. My question is, do you float in your post or hold and pour? By the way, we had to dig one out and add 5 bags of Crete. 5 bags of quickcrete or Sackcrete, some bagged product like that. All right, so let me read this question again. So, do you float your post? Yep. On a commercial project, we typically do. We'd like to, so we're dealing with chain link posts. We'd like to get the concrete in the post, around the post, make sure we've got, a good solid slug of concrete around the post. So we'll float those posts in. On residential, we hold and pour. Kind of a different process for different scenarios. But on a project like this, 6-foot black chain link, we would float those in. By the way, we had to dig one out, add 5 bags of Crete. That is an incredible post. Typically 6 foot. So for a 3-foot hole, 12 inches around, typically I think they'll take about 2 bags, 2.5 bags maybe. So 5 bags is a significant hole. But with gates that big, you kind of have to. Actually, you didn't say whether or not you're digging out the gate post or not, but I would bet 5 bags is probably going to be one of those gate posts. Because, folks, let me tell you, 2 15-foot swing gates, pretty good sized opening there. Wolf Commander, what is that? Thank you so much. Hit that thumbs up. Fencers, DIY guys. I agree. If you find this content helpful, go ahead and give it a like. Also, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We were looking at the analytics the other day, and something like 5% of the viewers are actually subscribers. 95% of the viewers not subscribed. There's 7 people viewing right now. That means there's a pretty good chance that only a few of you have subscribed. So if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button Ring the bell is what they say. That way you'll get notified each and every week when we have a new live stream available. Joe Savage, good morning to you, sir. Makito says, Camera 4, if you ever did any unboxing, not sure what you would unbox, but could be a top-down view. Makito, I like this idea. Yes, absolutely. So I actually, you know what? I actually have a top-down rig, maybe is what they call it. So the structure that would sit on this table and hold the camera to where it has a nice straight-down overhead view. Yeah, you're right. That would be a nice Camera 4. I don't know what would you guys like to see unboxed? That's a pretty good question. Is there anything unboxing style that you'd like to do? We could certainly do that. I am open to suggestions is what I'm saying. All right, Wolf Commander said that post he dug out, that 5 bags of Crete was a gate post. Sounds like it is very well set. Kenny Dugan, I already knew. I didn't know, but I knew, if you know what I mean. Kenny Dugan, welcome. The Stain Man is subscribed. Be like Kenny. I always wonder each and every day, how can I be more like Kenny? Can I subscribe to my own channel? Is that a thing? I don't. Let us find out. I don't know. We'll find out later. That doesn't sound like good content for you guys. All right. What is up, everybody? So as you guys are coming in, if you haven't said hello, be sure to say hi. That way everybody knows you're here and we'll say hello to you. Also, drop in your fence questions or comments below. And if you have questions that aren't even fence related, drop those in as well. Let's talk about it. I'm a big fan of talking about marketing. I'm networking, business management, that sort of thing, because that's what I do here at my business. That's what I really enjoy doing is the marketing and advertising and also just kind of general business administration. Making this thing run on a day-to-day basis is what I enjoy to do, or what I enjoy doing. And I would sure love to answer any questions or talk about that more in depth. Let me know what you want to talk about. We'll chat about it. Walter, thank you, sir. Walter subscribed as well. So far, we know that Kenny is subscribed and Walter subscribed. Gentlemen, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do it now. Fishing and picking. Joe, you mentioned your company is 3rd generation. Do you have plans to evolve to other trades, decks, sheds, garages, concrete work like patios, sidewalks, driveways? Yeah, so that's an interesting conversation to have. You know, you see fencing contractors when they start to grow. That's typically the direction they do grow. They grow out into the backyard space typically. So patios, outdoor kitchens. There's several large contractors that like to do outdoor kitchens. I don't know. It's a good question. So have we thought about it? Of course. You know, we always think about what complementary service can we offer that our customers would like us to perform for them. So other than just building fences, we also stain fences, pre-stain and stain on site, clean fences. And the equipment that we use to clean fences, we can also clean the siding, the roofs, the driveways, etc. So we offer cleaning services as well as a complimentary service, because we figure if someone wants their fence cleaned, there's probably something else around this house that they would like cleaned as well. And while we're there, we can go ahead and help them out with it. So yeah, so not quite what you'd asked for. You'd ask for decks, sheds, garages. I don't know that we're going to get into garages. That sounds more like general construction, but never say never, though. So, yeah, it is a thought. You know, my son is 3, so we've got a few years to kind of coach him into the company, I guess. But, I mean, that's generally the thing, right, is as you bring in someone extra, you got to find something for them to do. And when I was coming into the business, my dad kind of put me into gate automation, gate operators, and we did that for quite a while. As I transferred, or transitioned is the word I was looking for. As I transitioned more into the ownership role, we started contracting the gate automation out. There's a lot to gate automation, and it is absolutely a full-time job for at least one person. So as I got into the business ownership, business management role, I just didn't have time to properly take care of the gate operator clients. And so now we've got a contractor that we work with that their entire business is gate operators, but also security systems, cameras, that sort of thing. They take really good care of their clients. So we farmed it out to them. But I say all that to say, we did gate operators because my dad said, hey, if you're going to be here, you need to be productive. You need to find a way to grow this business. And so as Jackson comes in, like I said, he's 3, so we've got a few years to figure this out. But yeah, as he comes into the business, we'll probably think about expanding into other things. Dex is a kind of a natural progression. It seems to make sense that fence guys can be deck guys. You see a lot of deck guys that build fences, so maybe the turnabout is fair play there. Concrete work, maybe possibly sidewalks and driveways. Flat work concrete. It just judging by the groups, like the neighborhood groups that I'm in, that I keep an eye on, seems like there is a severe shortage of concrete workers. Now, flat work concrete seems like a completely different animal. So we'll have to consider it. And I don't know that it's as complimentary of a service, meaning that if I'm talking to you about fence, if to you I am Joe the fence guy, does it make sense if I'm also Joe the concrete guy? I don't know. It kind of makes sense that I'm also Joe the stain guy and Joe the clean guy, because I can explain that the same cleaning equipment that I use to clean your fence, I can also clean the exterior package of your house. That kind of makes sense. Yeah, complimentary services is what we would be very interested in. It's a very long answer to your question, but yeah. So I mean, we always are trying to think about how to evolve and expand. Problem we're having right now, a problem that everyone seems to be having right now, is finding good quality help. We've got ads out for a couple positions. We're filling material handlers, which are guys and gals that work out in our lot, either loading retail customers up or unloading supply trucks, keeping our inventory organized and keeping our crews supplied with materials. We're hiring for that position. We're also hiring for an experienced wood fence installer. We've kind of it's not necessarily an entry level position. We've got some entry level guys. We're looking for guys or gals, really, with a little bit more experience. But the problem is, we're not having much luck finding those folks. So we're running ads right now. Guys, let's talk. Let's have that conversation. So we're running ads. Now we're running the same Facebook ads, or we're trying to run the same Facebook ads that we've ran in the past. And it's typically, so say the material handler, the job duties would include, lifting objects 50 pounds or heavier consistently throughout the day. And it would be organization is important, keeping our materials lot organized, loading and unloading customers and suppliers, managing a forklift. And also in this ad, we mention, or in this job posting, we mention pre-employment drug screen and background checks are mandatory, as with all positions. And then it's the starting pay, the hours, the date. So it's interesting. So we ran this ad probably 6 months ago. No bubbles, no troubles. Facebook let it go. Now, though, that same ad is getting flagged for discriminatory employment practices. And I don't know why. So literally, the only thing I could think is that we use the word mandatory, maybe. So because we say background checks and pre-employment drug screen are a part of our mandatory employment process, and maybe that's being discriminatory. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. So we took that out. We're trying to run it as I resubmitted it as an ad this morning, and we'll see if if Facebook lets it go through this time. I don't know. We'll see. Guys, let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about how do you guys find help? What do you guys find helpful? So I mentioned that we posted it on Facebook. Of course, we shared it out to the local employment groups, 417 job search, that sort of thing, on Facebook. They have just employment groups. And then I shared it out to my personal page. You put it on our business page. But also my sister, Sarah, brought up a good point. So she's going to run a couple employment ads on Indeed. We'll give that a shot. I don't know if fence guys and gals hang out on Indeed, but we're going to find out. Also, we might try Zip Recruiter, and see if that works at all. But if you guys are out there and you've hired good help, where have you found them? I'd certainly like to know. We can certainly chat about that for a little while. But yeah, so if we're talking about expanding, you got to have good help. And right now, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of good help in the unemployed workforce. Is that a good way to put it? I don't know. So, which is confusing, because if you look at the governmental numbers, the government, research and feedback and all that, unemployment is supposedly at an all-time high. So there's all sorts of folks that are unemployed and just can't seem to find work. Well, from the business perspective, I don't necessarily buy into that. I mean, like I said, we're trying to hire. We've got one entry-level position that we're trying to place, and one a little bit higher than entry-level position. And and we can't seem to find anyone. We can't seem to find anyone willing to come in for an interview. So yesterday we had 3 interviews scheduled. All 3, well, one rescheduled. He didn't realize he had a doctor's appointment scheduled for that afternoon, so he rescheduled it next week. The other 2 just straight up ghosted. They scheduled the appointment. So we have a scheduling software we use called TimeTap. And so where we just sent them a scheduling link, said, look, your resume or your application looks great. We'd like to schedule a time to sit down and talk to you about becoming a team member here, coming on with the team. So they went in, they entered in all their information. They picked a time that was convenient for them. They just didn't show up. Now, the TimeTap software sends out a email and text confirmation when they schedule it. It also sends out a 24-hour and a 1-hour reminder. So 24 hours before the appointment and then 1 hour before the appointment, it sends out reminders. Same software we use for scheduling appointments. If we're doing an on-site, so we do on-site job walkthroughs a little bit later in our sales process. Typically, we've already received the deposit, the contract, that sort of thing. We're simply showing up to confirm measurements, answer any questions, do the in-person interaction. We use the same software, that TimeTap. We use it because I like that it sends reminders. I get it. People are busy. I know if I have to schedule something in my house, I'm probably going to forget about it. Even if it's in my calendar, something will come up and I will forget. The thing I like about TimeTap is it sends out reminders, both email and text. So it also, you can set it up to where it sends reminders to your team members as well. So I'm not affiliated with them. We pay full price. It's just a software I really like. Anyway, we used it for the interview process. So these guys, they're all guys. And now we're an equal employment opportunity employer where guys and gals both. I don't mind. I honestly think gals would do well in the fencing trade because of typically they're a little bit they have more attention to detail, which I think would be a good compliment. But anyway, everyone that ghosted us was guys. So when I say guys, that's the only reason I say that. But yeah, the 2 guys just absolutely flat ghosted us. They got you can kind of see that when they get the reminders and when they open them. So they got them. They just didn't show up. So in talking internally about that, there's a thought that they were probably simply checking boxes to stay on the unemployment system, possibly. I don't know. They didn't show up, so I didn't get to ask them. Anyway, what do you guys use? How do you guys find quality employees? I would love to hear about that. Unless you're adding Spanish, your phone won't stop ringing. That's an interesting thought. So, there's not a huge Hispanic community here in Southwest Missouri. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, like I said, equal employment. Listen, if you're pink and speak Martian, I don't really care. We show up every day. We do quality work. We treat our clients really right. I'd love to have that conversation. Now, the problem with posting in Spanish is I'm not fluent speaking Spanish. So there might be a little bit of a language barrier there. I don't know, but quite possibly. We should, I guess, think about that, consider that at least. But what happens when you post in Spanish, but you're not a Spanish fluent speaker? Same thing if we were posted it in, if we were up in Canada and we posted in French, but we weren't fluent in speaking French, that might be an issue as well. So, but good point, I suppose. We ought to kick that idea around a little bit. So, guys, how's your week going? This is Saturday morning. We've wrapped up our week. Some of you guys are probably out there hitting your 6th day on the job, and if so, best of luck. Let me know how it's going. Let me know what you guys are up to. Let me know if I can help you at all. That's kind of the point of this whole live stream, is to answer your questions live and maybe help you guys out with any projects you're working on or help out with business questions in general. I'd sure love to be as helpful as possible. Usually I have an orange insulated mug. I left it at home. So we got just the clear cup here. Anyway. Because let me tell you, sit down and talk for about 2.5 hours straight. Your voice gets a little rough and your throat gets a little dry, and it's always good to stay hydrated. So anyway, that's what that is. That's one of those energy teas, which is kind of an interesting thought. It's Herbalife is the brand of tea that this place uses. It's a company, but it's not an Herbalife company. It's a company that uses Herbalife products. There is a difference, I suppose. Anyway, yep, really good tea. I like it a lot. So All right, let me go through here. So I think we're caught up in the comments. So as you guys are joining, let me know you're here by dropping the comments below. Also, help this conversation along. If you got a question, comment, etc., drop that in the comments below. As I said earlier, today's video is going to be a review video of a gentleman named Scott Brown Carpentry. I believe he's out of Australia, either Australia or New Zealand, down under, you might say. Builds a fence. A carpenter builds a fence. It's always good to watch because these guys do just, carpenters in general do superb fence work. It's what they do for a living, is they work with fence or with wood rather all day long. Now, he has a bit of a mishap with his concrete. Jeremy and I, when we're watching this video, I don't know. I'll let you guys decide as well. But part of me thinks maybe this concrete mess was intentional, maybe to drive views, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But it is he makes an incredible mess. So I'd like to get your guys' thoughts and feedback on that. Maybe we'll watch it here, and maybe we'll do that. Doesn't look like a bunch of questions coming in, so let us figure out. You're going to watch a fence guy try to do technology here for better or worse. Because I've got some gear here that can probably do, not probably, it can do picture in picture. So, all right. Let us grab our keyboard. So, guys, what we're going to do is we'll do a live preview of this week's recorded video. Maybe that's part of our live stream. Maybe that's something we do is each Saturday we'll do a live preview or premiere, I believe is what YouTube calls it, of that week's video. Now, I can't go on the YouTube channel because it's not live yet. It is still private, but maybe, just maybe, we can do this. Let us see. Welcome back, everybody. We've got another. All right. The good thing about this video is it's not going to have ads because it isn't live yet. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we can figure this out. Let me get back to. See if we can get back to this. All right. Sorry, guys. Trying to do technology here. All right, there we go. I'm getting a weird echo now. What have I done here, people? This is what happens when you give Joe technology. All right, there's that one. Okay, I'm going to bring up the picture in picture and see if we can get this to work. All right, well, so far it's picture in picture with me, and that's not what we're after. We need camera 3. That's what we need. Well, all right, there we go. So let's see if we can't play this and see. First off, let me know, guys. I need to know if you guys can hear this. So real quick, I know we're on a delay here. Let me know if you guys can hear that. I want to make sure you guys can actually hear what the review is, or a commentary on the review. So let me know if you guys can hear that, and then we will get to going with the premiere of this week's video. While I wait to see if you guys could hear that video, let me. Okay, Joe Labby says very low sound. No sound, Walter says. Okay, so let's sort this out. Okay. So you guys get a look at what goes on here. So I'll run it to multi-view so you guys can see there. So it's got sound on, shows my sound bouncing here in the lower right-hand corner. But let us see. Maybe we need to turn sound on for camera 3. I bet that's exactly what's going on here. All right, camera 3. Let's see. How do we turn on camera 3? That's a good question. All right, camera 3's audio is on now. So let us see. Let's watch the audio meter here. So it's not showing us the audio on camera 3, which is where camera 3 is where this is showing, where this is playing on. We've got the video there on camera 3. So how in the world? Let's try this now. All right, so that's not going to work. So maybe we put mic 1 near here. Make sure mic 1 is on, as it is. Scott Brown's YouTube page on how he builds fence. So we found his page. We found a video of him building a fence. Now let's check it out. In today's exciting episode, all right, so let me know, guys. Let me know if you can hear that, if that audio is any better on your end. Because let me highlight some of these. Liam was letting us know very low sound, and then Joe Labby could barely hear it. Walter had no sound. Give her some. Joe says, Joe, I'm trying. I'm giving it a shot here. Yeah, check your mute switches. So that's a good point. So nothing is muted. Nothing's muted here. The problem is, all right, the main problem here is I'm a fence guy trying to figure out technology. But so we've got camera 3 is a virtual camera from our computer. So the audio is not coming from the computer. It is, I don't know. Oh, all right. So Joe says it's working now. Yep, good now. Okay. All right, here we go. So let me bring this back to program. There we go. We will start this off at the beginning. Oh, I guess I need to go over here to do that. Appreciate you guys being patient with me as we figure this out. All right, here we go. Review video for you today. We did a review video recently with a New Zealander building a fence, and one of the most popular comments is we've got to watch Scott Brown's YouTube page on how he builds fence. So we found his page. We found a video of him building a fence. Now let's check it out. Kind of odd to watch yourself on camera.
Tackle some rough conditions, but we managed to build a fence.
So Scott's getting the material delivered on site, which is pretty normal. If you guys got questions, drop them in the comments below, and I'll pause this and we'll talk about it. So that's an interesting way of doing the layout. So what he did was he ran the line right down the middle of one post to the middle of the other post, because he knows that's exactly where that fence line needs to go, and then marked it out that way. A lot of times we'll step off. We'll do a step off technique where we'll come in 6 to 10 inches inside that fence line and leave a string up all the time. But this lets him know exactly where the center of that post hole needs to be.
Yeah, nailed that one. That one's alright. Oh, we're going off a bit. That one's good. That one's going off. That was a complete miss. This one's not so bad. Morning, everybody. Scott Brown here. We had a very good run with that drill. The ground was nice and soft, so there are bonuses when you're working in the winter. Okay, so we used the auger, got down about 600 mils, but our holes need to be 900 mils because we got a approximately 2 meter high fence. And we've used the 300 mil auger bit. The posts are 100 mil. So 300 mil, 3 times the width of the post. Plenty of clearance.
That's typically a good rule of thumb. Whatever post you're setting, if your hole is 3 times the diameter, pretty safe rule of thumb. That way you get the correct amount of concrete around each post. Give it plenty of support.
Yeah, we're just going to dig the holes a bit deeper now.
There we go. Hey, we'll turn the volume on the computer up for you guys. Let me know if this gets too loud for you guys, and we'll go ahead and turn it down as well.
The things you find when you're digging holes. It's like a toy gun, I think. When I first felt the weight, I thought maybe it's a real gun, but then I looked closely. I think that says pirate. So yeah, it's not a real gun. Back when they didn't have plastic to make toys with. Do you reckon Pato worth something? If they're throwing in a bin, that's for sure. I'm going to take a line from this existing post, which is surprisingly level. Stitch the bottom of all our posts to that. Now we're going to brace up this post at the end. Make sure that is level as can be.
I'm not sure if this bottom rail actually becomes part of the fence or if it's just put in as a support. If it's just as a support, I would think that might be a bit overkill, but we'll see. So let me know what you guys think that bottom rail is for. I'll give it a few seconds. I know you guys are on delay. Kind of an interesting concept here. So what's happened is he's driven stakes into the ground and run what looks like a 2x4, maybe a 2x6. Yeah, it's probably 2x4 along the grade there. Give me a couple guesses what you guys think that is for. Get going here.
All the posts are in, braced up. Pretty much ready for the concrete. We're pushing to get our concrete pour earlier tomorrow. We've got the concrete pour booked for 2:30. So with a bit of luck, we'll get it a bit earlier. So see you tomorrow. All right, it's tomorrow, and we managed to get the concrete truck earlier than we planned. All right, let's do it.
All right. So, Joe, you're right. So you did say the bottom order was to support the post. So, which is an interesting thought here, right? So that's a lot of effort to put in to just support that to support those posts. I think I've seen different ways of supporting them, but yeah, it ends up being just purely for support. I thought maybe he was installing it, maybe it would stay as like a kicker board. What you see here in the States sometimes, guys will use a treated board along the bottom horizontally and then place your pickets on top of it. Thought that might be going where he was going with it, but not the case. I like the music. That is a significant amount of concrete overpour on these posts. I don't understand it's rainy, but man, this is already off to a bit of a messy start. And then watch this. So they actually have a bit of a where is it? Right along here. They actually dump a load of concrete right on the ground. Oh, it is it was so cringy. I would, like I said, I understand it's raining, but you've got to find a way to keep the mess out of the neighbor's yard. Look at that. Let me go back to that, guys. I mean, you can see just, and I understand, like I said, I understand it's raining. Man, there's it's a lot of concrete sitting in that yard. A lot of concrete going over into the neighbor's yard. That I don't know. I mean,
We're gonna get out of here.
That is an absolute mess.
I'll pause that. Yeah, it is. Tell you what, that's something.
Look at that, guys. It is, and I can't imagine what the neighbors had to say about that, or the homeowners for that matter.
We made a bit of a mess.
A bit of a mess.
Tomorrow. So much rain.
Look at that, guys.
Mixed with our concrete, so.
I mean, I don't. I've made some messes. I'm not going to sit here and say that every one of my job sites have been pristine. That just not real world or realistic, but it's a significant mess.
It looks a little bit. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look.
So yeah, so Fish and Pick. Let me get my mouse up here. Fish and Pickens says they're in the concrete business now. Yeah, they might as well have just poured a patio right under the fence, I think.
Good. But our posts are in. Try and clean this up today. We had to leave yesterday. We poured the concrete and that was about it. And now's the day where we make it all happen and turn it into a fence.
So, and here's the thing. So, like, there's a significant amount of concrete just thrown everywhere. I almost wonder. So, Jeremy and I were sitting here as I was watching this, or after I watched it. I did the live commentary, of course, but then after we were done recording, I asked Jeremy, I was like, do you think they did that on purpose, maybe? I would think so. I would hope so that was done on purpose. Maybe they talked to the homeowner, the neighbor beforehand, and said, "Hey, we're shooting this video. We'll clean this up after our video's done." I don't know. You'd think after the first hole, the one post seeing a mess like that, maybe that's understandable. But to do that on every post and it have just that much concrete poured everywhere, surely. You'd hope it's done on purpose.
So if you notice, I like this tip or this trick that he's doing. So he's not cutting them at exactly a flush angle. So it won't be a 90-degree angle. It'll be slightly sloped so that whatever water falls on the post runs off the top of the post. Doesn't just pool on the top, needing to rot.
And that is a nice trick. So if we're cutting them, I like us to cut them not totally flush. So so they were using just kind of a standard saw there, and then they'd have to come back through with a hand saw and cut that off. So we'd use a worm drive. So on a worm drive saw, you can use a larger blade and get that all in one cut.
So we want to do like an overlapping joint here.
The overlapping joint is a nice touch for sure.
Guys, look at the difference. I don't know what was going on with our lighting that day, but my that lighting is pretty atrocious there on me there. I don't know. See, that's crazy. I'm sitting in the same seat with the same lights, but I don't know. Something weird was going on that day. I think it's going to show that better, but that overlapping joint, I like that a lot.
So yeah, like I said before, the conditions aren't perfect, but
look at that. He is ankle deep in some sort of concrete water swamp mess. I don't know about that.
Still getting the job done. Nice round holes. So when we put the bolts through, the bolt once.
So that's a nice touch too. He's bolting the rails on, so he's got overlapping joints on the 2x4s, and then he pre-drilled a bolt hole through there. And like you see, he countersunk the nut side of the bolt in. That's a nice touch. It's a nice finished look.
Hazard. All right, now that the string line's set up, we can nail on all the palings.
Now, if you look at it, it looks like he's leaving quite a bit of that picket above that top rail, the reveal. Depending on which contractor you talk to, typically there's a 6 to 8 inch reveal left above that top picket. Typically, when you leave them a little bit further than that or any further than that, it tends to encourage warping and twisting at the top. But you might also be putting a custom arch on the fence or custom cut regardless on the top to where.
Would you see that a lot, right? So you see Sean King does this quite a lot. I've watched a lot of his videos on the subject, putting either a convex, which would be maybe an arch, or a concave, which would be, well, so an arch or a dip, maybe concave, cut into the fence. Is kind of what I thought maybe they were going for here.
He's going to address that here in a minute.
So I didn't address this, but this is kind of an interesting deal to where he ran his top string line. It looks like 1.5 inches above that picket. So he's using a bit of 2x4, which typically measures 1.5 inches on the skinny side to align his pickets. It goes to show there's always more than one way to build a fence. We use a tool by Mr. Fence Tools called the straightaway, where if you have 2 pickets, it's an 8-foot straight. It's kind of like U-channel, but it's not. It's a straight bar that once you have your starting picket and your ending picket on, every picket touches the top of this, and make sure that all your top is straight, so you're not worried about string line blowing around. So Joe hit it right on the nail on the head. Scallop. That's absolutely correct. Sorry about that. It's a scallop fence. So an arch or a scallop. Convex and concave. It always threw me in school. Concave versus convex. But caves, you think concave. Because cave goes in. I don't know. Anyway, scalloped is the correct. Joe, thank you very much. All right, let's pause this. We got a fence question here. Actually, we got a couple, so we ought to address those real quick. Is this going to work? Let's see. Look at that. Semi-pro here. All right, so we got a fence question. Actually, we had one up here. Joe had a fence question when I was trying to figure out the picture-in-picture video there. She says, quick one, I want to use the steel post on a fence project. However, I can't find a Master Halco dealer in Maine. Thoughts? Yeah, so SWI, SWI sells them. You can just search SWI Fence Supply, possibly. It's Mark Olson's company. They ship the Postmaster Post. You can also, so depending on your area, here, our Lowe's sells them as well. So you might check like your Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, see if one of them has a relationship with Master Halco and either carries them or can order them. Mark sells them online. Like I said, SWI Fence. The problem is the shipping. I mean, they're 8 feet long. So the shipping gets a little spendy on getting those things in. Also, Gregory has, I believe Gregory's is called the Lifetime Post. I mean, there's a few other posts out there that are specifically built for wood fence. I check out SWI. Check locally first. Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards. See if they carry either the Postmaster or it's literally the product name is called Lifetime Post. I believe it's by Gregory. I think there's another one. I think there are three. I think there are three posts out there. I've just always used Postmaster. It's what I have experience in, and honestly, the other posts are mimicking the Postmaster post anyway. I like sticking with the original. They're the ones that put the research and design into the product. They know it better than anybody. But if you can't find the Postmasters locally, those posts would be just as good, I would think. Yeah, check your Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, or SWI online, SWI Fence online. Mark Olson was here on the channel. Actually, we're going to have a few videos of his coming up. He posted a couple of videos on his channel of his interview, of his and I's interview, actually right here in the studio. He made the trip to come see me, and we create some content. But he sells online. He's a good guy. Not affiliated with him. I don't get paid anything when you guys, if you guys were to buy something from him, but that would be a good source online for those posts. Chris says, I'm looking to replace an existing corner post, which has old concrete. What's your best solution? Chris, on a corner post, you got to pull that up. I mean, that the corner is where it goes, right? So line posts, you can typically offset if you don't want to pull that concrete. But corner post, it's got to go right there. So you got to pull that concrete. If the post is good, if it's a chain link post or if the wood post is structurally sound, you can yank usually with a piece of equipment. Or, I did a video showing a guy that used a high lift jack. Granted, his use of it wasn't the safest use of it, and that comment came up pretty consistently. Continues to come up pretty consistently in the comment section of that video. But a high lift jack, you could use one. Be sure to keep a hold of it so it doesn't come back and smack you. Also, in the comment section of that video, guys have talked about using a tire and a vehicle, a truck hitch. Chain goes over the tire, down to the post. Tire acts like a fulcrum, pulls it right up out of the ground. I haven't done it. Seems like a good idea. Or seems like it could work. I don't know if it's a good idea. Actually, it doesn't sound like a great idea because if that chain slips or comes loose, now you got a chain chasing you back to the truck, and it sounds like it actually could be a really good way to lose your back window. Seems like. But yeah, to replace existing corner post, which has old concrete, yeah, you got to yank that thing up. So, you know what we ought to do? We ought to watch another video. So after this video is done, but Mark Olson on his SWI channel had a video on how they remove concrete slugs, and their process is similar to ours. Actually, it's a little bit more refined than ours. But what we would do is we would hammer drill so if the post is broken, you still got to get the concrete up. So we would hammer drill into the slug or into the concrete slug, the post footer, I guess. Anchor in a flat plate we just have a solid hoop welded onto the flat plate, connect that to a chain to the equipment, pull it on up out of there. Mark's is a little bit more refined. Mark's method is a little bit more refined than that. But yeah, one way or the other, Chris has got to come up. I hope that helped. If not, let me know. We could certainly expand on that. We've got guys here in the chat that are also professional fence guys, and they can certainly help you. If you got a better solution, let's talk about that. If you got a better solution on pulling posts up out of the ground, let's chat about that for a little bit. I'd certainly like to learn a thing or two, maybe a tip or a trick as well. So thumbs up from Joe. Joe, thank you. I prefer drive time to paying shipping. Agreed. Absolutely. I mean, local is always my first recommendation. The Master Halco, so they want to sell to fence contractors, right? That's just their preferred business model, is selling to contractors. Authorized retailers is what they'll call them. They have a dealer locator on their website, but I believe your comment said that there was no. And let's see here. I believe you had said, can't find a Master Halco dealer in Maine. So you've been to the dealer locator. They don't have one in Maine. They want to sell to dealers. So they want to sell to fence contractors. It's just their business model. Good, bad, or indifferent. So maybe, because then I saw no Menards up here. Lowe's and Home Depot don't carry. So you were kind of striking out there. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not much help for you. I'm in Southwest Missouri, so you'd be driving halfway across the country, which doesn't make sense. there would be a dealer closer to you than me. I don't know. I mean, honestly, so we've exhausted local resources. I know you'd prefer to drive. So, I mean, maybe use our dealer locator, expand your radius, and maybe see if there's one, and maybe one of the surrounding. If there's a dealer, in the surrounding areas. Also, what you might do, so a lot of times their dealer locator isn't the most up to date tool ever. So, Joe, you might reach out to your local master Halco, region, your supply yard, your local master Halco office. So simple search Master Halco near me or something to that effect, and reach out, call them directly, and say, hey, I'm trying to buy Postmaster posts. I know you want to sell directly to fencing contractors. Who is a fencing contractor closest to me that will sell me these posts? I bet they'll do a lot of the legwork for you too. So you might give that a shot, Joe. Praetorian? Man, I hope I said that right. Praetorian. I don't know. Also, dig around the concrete set so it has somewhere to wiggle and loosen. Use a long steel bar to help loosen dirt and wedge rocks out of the hole. Also, post hole diggers, obviously. Agreed. Yeah, so you want to dig one side of that out. So, especially if you're in an area with clay soil, wet soil, something like that, because as you try to pull that post up, it's going to create a suction, a vacuum at the bottom of that post where it's going to fight you to try to get that post out. So digging down next to the post relieves some of that vacuum if it's wet or clay soil. Yep, absolutely. So Praetorian's got a great point. Chris, thumbs up to you, bud. Tankin Somteller. Did I get that right at all? Tankin Somteller. I hope so. If not, I apologize. Connected to a SpaceX rocket. Yeah, no kidding. Hey, did you guys see? I saw, what was it? It was yesterday, maybe. Elon Musk has been given the contract to develop the landing craft for moon landings now. Elon's he's running the game, seems like. So yeah, hook it to a SpaceX. All right. I got it right. What a deal. Good deal. All right. So as you guys have questions, drop them in the comments below. But until then, let's get back to watching this week's video. Is this right? And then we do this. There I am. God, I tell you what, guys, we have almost got this figured out.
Okay, so he used longer pickets so that he could get them all cut exactly the same height. Good idea.
Yeah, it's done.
So in this video, most of that concrete is cleaned up. So I mean, you still see some here around the post. That can be normal. Try to get a better look at this without getting lights in my eyes. But so this is kind of what makes me think that concrete pour might have been done on purpose, because obviously they left the yard a lot nicer than it was before.
The maximum height that we're allowed to do, council conditions, 2 meters. Now you've got a 2 meter fence all the way along. Paint that black, like the rest of it. Well, we were. Hopefully the next episode will be working in better conditions.
Well, guys, that's certainly one way to build a fence.
All right, so that was this week's video. So that video is coming up after this live broadcast. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it public once we're done. But yeah, let's do this. Let's look for Mark's video on pulling a post. I think he was up to good stuff there. So I'm going to search SWI. All right. Let's try to get this back. Picture in picture. There we go. All right. So we're on SWI's YouTube page. Guys, he really does have good content.
We need to get the concrete out of the ground. And for a long time, we struggled with a good way to do that. But we've come up with a solution. Man, I'm pumped up. We've got another secret to show you today. Maybe you've already thought of this, maybe you haven't, but one of the things we fight a lot is trying to figure out how we're going to get concrete slugs out of the ground when the posts may be rotted off, or we're dealing with wood posts that just aren't strong enough to get for all that force that we're trying to use to get this out of the ground. This is a really heavy,
which is a pretty common problem, right? So typically when we're replacing wood posts, they're pretty rotted. I mean, rarely do we replace good solid posts. So more often than not, you end up breaking the post off or the post is already broken.
Clay soil here that we've got, and we need to pull these wood posts out, and they're just snapping off if we wrap a chain around them. So we've got to still get this concrete out of the ground. We don't like to leave that scrap behind for the customer to deal with later on if they ever decide they want to do something. So we need to get the concrete out of the ground. And for a long time, we struggled with a good way to do that, but we've come up with a solution. Not we. Almanzo has come up with a solution, and Damon. And this is why you hire stallions in your company, is because they are problem solvers. They don't have the idea that we don't get paid to think. They're always thinking. So I love it when the team comes up with some great ideas. So they took a base plate, a heavy base plate, cut it in half.
So that is way more refined than our solution. So I'm actually taking this video to our fabricator saying, hey, we just had a steel hoop or loop welded onto a plate. They actually took a steel shackle, which makes way more sense. I mean, this thing's built for either picking up heavy loads or securing heavy loads. Makes sense to weld that to like a 1/2-inch steel plate. I like his method a lot.
This is just a 6x6 1/2-inch base plate. And they cut it in half and welded a D-ring on it like you would have on a trailer. And then we'll use these screw-in anchors that are totally reusable to pull the slug out of the ground. And they'll show you how to do that. And this concrete is in there, probably 32 inches, 3 feet.
Just using a regular hammer drill, rotary hammer drill.
And that's an 8-inch bolt. If I was doing this, they just grabbed some that we had off the shelf at the shop. But if I was doing this, I would use a 6-inch bolt. There's no need to have quite that much in the concrete.
And now by default, you're already hooked up to this thing, so loading it on a trailer is pretty slick too.
So the other reason that we end up having to pull these slugs out is there is a vinyl fence going right back in the same exact spot, so we can't have that concrete in there conflicting with our new posts. So we've got to get it out. We run into that a lot. All of these, every single one of these on this fence all the way around this yard had concrete on them, and we had to get it all out of there because we run the risk of needing to put a hole right where there's a concrete slug. So pulling the concrete out is a lot of times what we have to do. We can't just abandon it underground. But this is a quick, easy way to get your concrete slugs out of the ground if you have vinyl posts or weak posts that you can't get out. Now, I know there's other tools on the market that will go down inside of the vinyl posts. And the reason that we can't use those is because we stab our vinyl posts into the concrete. So we'll fill the hole completely full of concrete, then stab the vinyl into it. So there's concrete all the way up inside the post as well as around it. So we can't slide anything down on the inside of the post to get those slugs out on vinyl. So we end up having to use this method on just about everything we do, with the exception of chain link fence posts, which are strong enough to allow us to pull the concrete out. So that's a quick, easy way to get that done. So if you're struggling with getting the concrete out at your house, give that method a try. Those are 3/4 inch by 8-inch bolts. I would recommend a 3/4 inch by 6-inch bolt. You can weld a quick D-ring up to a plate and quickly and easily get the concrete out. So until next time, hope that works for you. You have a good dang day.
So guys, that's a method that we use and we like a lot. Guys, seriously, check out SWI Fence's YouTube page. I'll go back to so it's SWI Fence and Supply of Powell. They're creating some really good content. What else they have? So how to build a simple, sturdy cedar fence gate. He talks about that. How we install vinyl gate hinges. They gave away a fence. So, all right, let us go back to this. Boom, there we are. Gosh, guys, I'm getting scary at this. I tell you what, we're all learning this thing together. So, Fishing and Picking says, Joe, there's a dealer in Quebec City. So, if Quebec City is near to you or within driving distance, there you go. You can drive and go pick them up rather than have them shipped to you. Yeah, so agreed, Active Dads. If you don't have the Bobcat on site, it would be expensive to go rent one. We use a mini skid, so it's Toro Dingo. We're actually getting ready to upgrade those probably middle to late this year to the Bobcat MT 100s, which is the replacement for the MT 85s. Anyway, they'll pick those up as well. I mean, obviously, a Bobcat, a full size skid steer, will pull a heavier slug of concrete out of the ground, but in my experience, the mini skids, they'll pull those up as well. We typically have those on our job sites. But you know, if you don't have one on site and you're willing to try to dig this thing up out of the ground, absolutely. As I said before, you know, some guys will use a tire and a chain to act as a fulcrum to help pry that thing out of the ground. You can certainly do that. As someone had mentioned up here, let's see, who was it? Praetorian said digging around the concrete set so it has somewhere to wiggle or loosen. Use a long steel bar to help loosen the dirt and wedge rocks out of the hole. Also post hole diggers. So yeah, what they're talking about is, so you would dig. So if you've got your post hole here, you would dig right next to it. That way you could push it over and then try to pry it on out of the hole. If you don't have equipment on site already, great point, Active Dads. Very good. Well, guys, like I said, be sure to we're pretty caught up in the comments. So if you do have questions, comments, etc., drop them in the comments below. We're an hour in. We've got an hour and a half left. We can certainly watch more videos and talk about those, answering your questions, or we could simply chat about whatever's on your mind. And it could be marketing, business related, fencing related is what I know quite a bit about. Is what I was going for there. Very welcome, Active Dads. Thank you for tuning in. Guys, if you're tuning in and you haven't said hello yet, let us all know you're here by saying hello in the chat. And then, like I said, if you've got a fencing-related question, be sure to drop it in the comments below. Or if you've got a subject matter that you'd like for us to chat about for a little bit, drop that in the comments below. We've got some airtime to fill here. I'm willing to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Let's see. So we did this week's video. So we only upload 1 week at a time, so we don't have other videos to watch. And maybe that's our thing. Maybe part of the live stream is watching that current week's video. Because what I do, my process is, after this live video, we go into the YouTube channel and make the recorded content live, to give you guys a sneak peek into it ahead of time. Might be a neat idea. Of course, if you guys have questions about other content, other video content that we've posted in the past, you can certainly ask. We'll review those videos, maybe do something like that. We talk about future guests. So we've got, we'll have Caleb on. So one interesting idea that you guys brought up a few weeks ago was, actually, it's probably about a month ago, if we're being honest, was to bring you guys live video, to bring you guys live on this channel, asking your questions. And that's an interesting idea. So it's something I think we're going to do. I'll probably partner with Sean King. So Sean King runs an academy and a Mr. Fence Associates group. And so we'll probably start there with his group asking questions live, and then kind of spread it out to you guys. Also, I've got an email just for you guys, just for this channel. Let me make sure I get it right. I don't want to tell you guys the wrong one and have it just be, yep, completely wrong. So actually, I'm going to drop this in the chat for you guys. There's just not enough room at this desk for all the stuff we got going on here. So if you guys have questions, comments, you want to send me a comment or question, whatever, the email is joe at, well, yep, the fence expert show. Someone already has the fence at defenseexpert.com. Go figure. We reached out to him. We sent him a few messages, and we couldn't get in touch with him. So we had GoDaddy reach out on our behalf because it's a GoDaddy domain, and nobody responded. They didn't even want to sell it, which is kind of odd. So we had to do the Fence Expert. Is that right? Yep, 2 E's. .show. There we go. So if you guys have questions, comments after the live, if you want to send me a video, etc., if you'd like to be live on this broadcast asking your fence questions, send it to Joe at thefenceexpert.show. .show is important because if you send it to .com, I'm not going to get it. I have no idea who gets it. Got some questions here. Nathan says, just built my first fence. Congratulations. For a friend this last week. I'm a firefighter. Oh, in Kansas City, Missouri. Welcome, fellow Missourian. And on the Missouri side of Kansas City, I love it. And looking possibly to build fences as a side gig. Appreciate all your content, Joe. Nathan, more than welcome. Thank you for the service you provide as a firefighter, first responder, etc. We actually have a firehouse supposedly being built a couple buildings down. So I'm excited for that. Take care of the guys who take care of us, that sort of thing. So congrats on the fence. I hope it went well. Sounds like it went well, especially if you're considering it as a side gig. I think that's how a lot of guys get into the fencing industry in general. My story is a little different. My dad had this business. He bought this fence business from his dad, my granddad. And then from a young age, I didn't have much of a choice. I just woke up sixth grade. So 12, 13, and told I was going to work that day. And then I've been fencing ever since. But anyway, a lot of guys get into this as a side gig. And it's, as my granddad says, it's good, honest work, build character, etc. But yeah, absolutely. You're very welcome for the content. It's the least I could do to try to share my knowledge, help you guys. I firmly believe that a rising tide raises all the ships. So the more we can do to help everyone, the better we'll be by default. So you're very welcome. Of course, Nathan, if you got any questions on the fence, let me know. Sure to help you however we can, especially a fellow Missourian. I always like to hear from folks in my backyard. Michael Jones wants to know, what's the best way to put an automatic gate opener on? Well, it's probably going to depend on the opener. So you've got a couple different designs. You've got pad mount, so which you would pour a concrete pad. I believe they're typically 2x2 or 3x3, depending on the operator you're using. And then you would weld the bracket onto your gate. Arm would attach to the bracket, would also attach to the operator, that sort of thing. That's going to require pouring a pad. It's going to require attaching. So actually using concrete anchors similar to what Mark had used. Not as long, not 8 inches for sure, but using something similar to that. They also have swing arms, which would be you would weld those to the gate post, and then weld the other bracket onto the gate itself. So you're not going to have to pour pad. You don't have to worry about attaching it to the pad, but you are going to need to figure out how to get that welded on the post and the gate. I've seen models. I have not used them. I've seen models that bolt on. I don't have experience. I don't know that I would trust as much. I'd have as much trust in a gate operator that bolts on as opposed to being welded on. There's a lot of torque. There's a lot of torque that goes into opening these gates because some of the gates are light. I understand, like forestry style gates. But typically, most residential gates are going to be like an ornamental iron or ornamental steel gate or ornamental aluminum. And they're going to be fairly heavy. It's going to take quite a bit of torque. And even if they're not heavy, they're usually large. And so, length comes into play. So anyway, there's a lot of torque being put on the gate post side of that. I would prefer to have one welded on. I know there's contractors that install them that don't have their own welders or aren't comfortable welding, so they'll hire a mobile welder to come out and weld on their mounting points. So that's obviously an option as well. So the best way to put an automatic gate on, I like the pad mount. I mean, you can get a swing arm that mounts to the gate post and the gate. I've seen more issues with those than I have with the pad mount. Of course, it's going to vary by manufacturer. When we were doing them, I preferred Viking. I like the Viking Access line of operators. There's a lot of guys, if you ask 10 gate operator guys, you'd get probably 12 different answers. Of course, Dorking and Lanier are a couple of the big brands that a lot of guys here use. There's others. There's Slide-O-Matic. What else is there? High Security is you see High Security a lot on commercial projects. I liked Viking Access. I liked how they worked. Once you got to know one board, you could figure them all out. Each board wasn't just a little bit different. But yeah, best way to put an automatic gate on, my opinion, one guy's opinion, would be to pad mount for sure. All right. Well, we're caught up in the chat, so let me know if you guys got questions. Let me know. I'd be certainly willing to rehash past discussions, that sort of thing. What were we even talking about? We started fielding questions, and I've lost my train of thought. So we're talking about hiring good help that we're trying to hire on Facebook, and it's not panning out too well. It's not horrible. We've had a couple dozen applications come in, but we got to get them to show up to interviews. That's the big thing. So they go ahead and they schedule their interview. They still don't show up. I don't know what the logic there is, but some of the thoughts here internally, we had a meeting Friday afternoon, production meeting, where we talked about this exact subject. And so some of the thought was maybe some folks were checking boxes to keep their unemployment benefits. And if that helps check the box, then so be it, I suppose. But it's trying on Facebook. And then this weekend, we're going to put it on Indeed and ZipRecruiter just to see. Maybe fence folks hang out there. I don't know. I've heard, so, in the fence groups, this is a common item of discussion. Craigslist comes up a lot. I haven't had just a whole lot of success finding quality team members on Craigslist for whatever reason. No judgment, just saying past experience has been not the best. So we probably won't be adding these job openings on there, but yeah. All right. So we said we posted up that's what we're talking about. Had the new email address, Joe at thefenceexpert.show. Do not send it to .com because I don't know who has that. Apparently GoDaddy doesn't know who has it either because they couldn't locate them either, even though it was a GoDaddy domain. Go figure. So if you know who has thefenceexpert.com, let me know. We could probably come to some sort of agreement. But if you got a question, a comment, if you want to chat with me directly, Joe at thefenceexpert.show. Now, it might not be immediately. There's a lot going on here. The YouTube thing is kind of almost taking on a full-time role in itself, whether we're recording content, editing content, reaching out to other creators to create content with them. It's kind of a full-time thing. And I run a fence company. So, that obviously takes up quite a bit of time. Now, I have some quality team members here that help me take that load. My sister Sarah helps run the residential division. My dad helps run the commercial division. So they certainly take a lot of that heavy lifting off my shoulders. I don't want to diminish anything that they do because they certainly help me a lot. But still, the marketing and advertising for a fence company is kind of a full-time gig once you get to a certain size. And just the business management, the day-to-day business administration, accounts receivable and payable, or a couple other things I do. So I say all that to say, I would love to chat with you, but please understand it might not be immediately. It might be a day or two later, but I always like to respond to emails. Joe at thefenceexpert.show will be the best way to get in touch with me. Ozark Fence's email would probably not be the best way to get in touch with me because it doesn't come to me directly. Also, calling Ozark Fence would probably not be the best way to get in touch with me because, again, the calls are not routed directly to me. Even if you call it up, so I would sure like to talk with Joe. You'll get my voicemail. There are a lot of voicemails in there. But Joe at thefenceexpert.show comes directly to my phone. It also comes on my laptop. But it's loaded up on my phone. Not all my email accounts are on there, but this one is, so that I can interact with you guys a little bit quicker than one of the other accounts. So, to reiterate, please do not email Ozark Fence. Please do not call Ozark Fence. Those folks are doing a lot of work on building fence for our clients. It's not a quick way to get a response from me in general. This email is a great way to get in touch with me directly. Fish and Pickin', do you have a referral program for your employees to find you help? 500 if the referral stays on for 180 days. So we do. We do. And that's actually, so what we do is we do 500 for the 500 on both sides of that transaction. 500 for our current team member, $500 for the team member that stays on. So there's incentive on both ways. I like 180 days. We do 90 days. So not all of our benefits kick in at 90 days. It's just kind of a number that we track. Honestly, if you make it 90 days, this is probably going to be a long-term fit. So, but I like it. Yeah, absolutely. So referral programs do really well for us. We've kind of hired everybody's friends by now. We start there. So before we put it out into the world, we let our team members know, hey, these are positions we're looking for. Who do you know? If you know them and you'll vouch for them, if you think they'll last here, because these are guys and gals that know our company culture just by default. Who do you know that would be a good fit here? So we start there. Then we give that 30 days. And if we don't really hear anything back, if no one knows of anyone, they've talked to everyone they know, then we'll put it out into the public, right? So one thing we do too is while we're doing that internally, asking our team members if they think that they would be a better fit in this new position. I would rather hire internally than anything. Now, obviously, if we hire internally, that's going to leave a spot open in a different position, but I would rather someone be in a position that they're happy, right? And there's a quote that struck me. I heard it quite a while ago, but I don't know. I was watching a movie the other night, and the quote wasn't directly in that movie, but it resonated with me, probably because we're in the middle of some hiring. But, man, and it's something to the effect of, if you judged a fish by its ability to fly, it would fail every time, right? But if you judged a fish by its ability to swim, it would excel. If you put that fish in a position where it needs to fly, it's not going to be great at it. But if you figure out that fish is best at swimming, and you put it in a position that requires swimming, it'll probably do really well. So, so we try to hire internally first. We try to place that internally because maybe we've got someone that's more of a fish and they're not great at flying, but they love to swim. If we have a position that requires more swimming than flying, we put that fish in the position. Now we're all better. The fish is happy. We're happy. We don't hire fish. Let's be clear about that. But I think you get the point. Active Dad's Rule. I love that name. I love that account name. Active Dad's Rule. Love your show, brother. Brother, I appreciate you joining the show. I appreciate you being a part of it. That's one thing I like here is that everyone that jumps into the chat, we like to bring you into the show and have you be a part of the show. This channel is nothing without its followers. So I like to say thank you. I like to bring you guys in. Here's the thing, too, is one of my problems, one of my issues is it seems like I run through life with blinders on, right? I see what's directly in front of me, and I like to tackle those problems and talk about those problems, but I don't see what's outside of that field of view. So you guys being in the chat, asking questions kind of brings my attention maybe to other directions that I wouldn't have normally talked about, or we wouldn't normally have brought up on the show until you guys said, hey, what about bringing a post out of the ground that's broke off? You got to get the concrete for a corner post. What do you do? And then we chat about it. So Active Dads, as much as you say thank you, I say thank you to you. Guys, we got about another hour left here. So if you guys have questions, comments, etc. that you'd like to discuss, drop them in those comments below. We'll certainly chat about them, and we'll try to ride this thing out for another hour. If we run out of content, we'll just shut her down early. I'd prefer not to, though. I'd prefer to run this thing for the full 2.5 hours and give you guys as much content and help as I can. So, guys, like I said, if you haven't said hello, if you're joining us, looks like we've had about 8 or 9 new viewers join the live feed. So if you guys haven't said hello, drop a comment below. Simply say hi. I'd like to say hi and thank you for coming in. Also, if you've got fencing-related questions, drop them below. If you've got business-related questions, drop those too. I love to talk about marketing, advertising. It's one thing I do here that I really enjoy, specifically video content, i.e. YouTube. I like it a lot. So be sure to drop your comments, questions, etc. in the chat below, and we'll certainly jump on to answering that and talking about your discussion topics. While we're waiting, let's do this. Let's go back here. Boom. Let's see what other content we've got that we could review here. Like I said, Mark Olson. So this is Mark Olson's channel, SWI. Guys, this channel is incredibly underrated. They don't have a ton of subscribers. The videos are well done. They're very informative. You should get in on the ground floor on this guy's content. Let's see here. If you guys see a video you want to watch, be sure to let me know. Contacts aren't working great today, so this is a little bit of a chore. All right, so this is a good video. So you see a lot of guys that use string to line out their fence, their post lines.
This is the checkers game where grandson and granddad will bond.
We're just going to skip this. Sorry, Mark.
The straightest part of this post to be things, practice your craft, and until next time.
Well, we're going to start this over.
Dang day.
I think the real challenge and I think the real difference in a good contractor on the ag market is making this post look really good.
Yeah.
So we're going to bury this.
Yep.
And then we're going to pick the straightest part of this post to be the face of our fence. He gave me a great analogy. Fence posts are like family. If you look at each one of them separately, they all look like trash. But if you put them all together, they look pretty good.
I don't know about that. Say hi to somebody real quick. Taking some teller? Welcome. Appreciate you tuning in from Norway. Incredible. Thank you so much. Guys, as you have fence questions in general, content that you'd like to talk about, drop them in the comments below. Till then, we're going to learn a thing or two with Mark.
All right. Here's what we have.
What do we have?
We've got coal.
Also, guys, let me know if the volume on your guys' end for the video is too loud or too soft. We could certainly try to adjust that.
Post off of jobs. Absolutely not tapered.
So we're working with some pretty quality material.
Quality.
So this is the worst of the worst, actually. This is all the trash.
This ought to prove the point that you can get a straight line backside.
So what we're going to do is you're going to stand behind that post. Which side the wire is going on? Is the wire going on? This side, this side?
This side.
That side? So because all these posts are so tapered, we're only going to be able to line up off of one side. And that's going to be this side. So you're going to go down there and you're going to shotgun sight this post in. I'm going to hold it plumb. And you're going to tell me which way, and then we're going to drive the Evo up here.
Left.
And obviously, depending on where you look on that post is going to change what it looks like. We're just going to try and get it as close as we can.
Left.
Okay. Which way?
Left. Base of the post, left.
Forward and backward. I don't know.
Backwards.
Left. This way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa, too far.
So you can see, just tell me an inch, look at the base of the post, and you'll be able to kind of see. Plumb.
You're pretty good right there. Give it a quarter of an inch.
Forward?
Yeah.
And that's going to change because this post, obviously, if we look up here, it's going to be totally different. Because this post is, show them how trashy this post is. Like up here, see that big old, they're very inconsistent. These are not nice, neat. This is why pipe is nice.
An engineered product.
Okay. Step back. We are working with some real wise guys on this film crew. So go back there, Nora, and show them what it should look like when they look down the post and it's all plumb.
So what we're doing is trying to find the face of that post and matching it up with the face. Stick it.
Stick it. So the nice thing about the Evos, one of the reasons I like them is that we can, when we're driving the post, we can actually see past the post, where some of the drivers have blocks where you can't see, so you can't see your line and tell whether or not it's lined. The Evos, we're going to be able to see on all the way around the post to know the entire time while we're driving it whether or not it's in line. So that'll make a big difference. And Ryan Sloop here is a master operator, so this is going to go very well.
Is it? Thanks for jinxing me. We're bound to hit rock now.
So those Evo machines are pretty slick. They actually make a smaller one now that I'm wanting to demo that's for residential yards. So the tracks are narrow enough they kind of scoot under the machine to where it can get through a residential gate. Watch how this thing will drive that post just incredibly well.
Okay, so he just drove that post. Man, the lighting's just awful. But you can just barely see how it kind of lines up on that side. This side means nothing to us because the posts are way too tapered for us to be able to tell whether or not it's lined up, and it isn't. So as I line this side up right here, we're missing that end post. We're that way of the end post by probably 2 or 3 feet from back up here. But that doesn't matter. Since this is a wire fence, we're just going to be looking for lining up the wire side of that, or the face side of the post all the way down. And all these posts are going to be really different sizes. So now you can stand your...
So I'll be honest, agricultural fence, we don't build just a ton of agricultural fence here in Missouri. But I'd like to go. So here in the States, they've got the fall fencing forum, which is just kind of like, it is kind of a competition for ag fencing. I think we'll probably be going this year. I'd like to go and watch those guys compete and also learn a thing or two from those guys and see if we can apply their methodology to residential and commercial fencing. Also on my list, I don't know if our friend from Australia is still watching, but if so, Australia has one of the world's largest agricultural fencing competitions. It probably won't happen this year, but in future years, I'd sure like to get down to Australia to view, like I said, the world's largest agricultural fencing competition. These guys are they're monsters.
Your post up, plumb it up, and line it up with those two.
So I'm just sighting off of those two.
You're just sighting off of those two, and we can only use one side because all these posts are so nasty.
But I think that's what would be a benefit to having a nasty post. Is training
It
this.
is.
Once you train with a nasty post, a good post is going to be easy like pipe.
Yeah, it'll be a piece of cake. So,
Like, look at this one.
yeah, these are...
I think the real challenge I think the real difference in a good contractor on the ag market is making this post look really good.
Holy cow. So let me just throw this up. Liam is still here, and it's 2:30 in the a.m. down under. Liam, man, I appreciate you. So I'll have to look it up, see exactly where. So in the New Zealand video, a lot of the guys had also mentioned, and gals, had also mentioned your guys' is the ag fencing competition you guys hold there in Australia, the world's largest. I certainly want to get down there. But let me tell you, flying halfway across the world, not the least expensive option, that's for sure. I think the last time I looked it up, the airfare was something is going to be like $6,000 or $7,000. So we're not there yet with this channel, but one day we will be, and I will certainly visit Australia, the world's largest ag fencing. That blows me away. But it makes sense. Australia has some large open agricultural areas there, quite a lot of it. They also have the longest. So Liam probably knows more about this than I do. They have the longest continual fence in the world. Man, I'm going to probably butcher this. All right, I'm going to say it, but I don't know if this is true. The dingo fence or something like that. I'm going to say longest fence in the world. There you go. That's a Google term. Yeah, dingo fence, Southeast Australia. 5,614 kilometers, which is 3,488 miles. Finished in 1885. Unreal. They also have the second longest fence in the world. The rabbit-proof fence in Western Australia is 3,253 kilometers, which is a little over 2,000 miles completed in 1907. So you have two of the world's longest fences. I think that would be some neat content also. So one day when this channel gets to that point, I'm coming to Australia. Liam, thank you for watching us. I appreciate it. 2:30 in the morning, unbelievable. So it'd be 2:30 on Sunday mornings because you're a bit ahead of us, sir.
Yeah, because
So we're going to bury this,
yep.
and then we're going to pick the straightest part of this post to be the face of our fence. So from right here down,
Up is pretty good.
it's a pretty nice post. So we use that post as the face.
To get your level out, it gets you.
I don't even know that a level is applicable to this post.
It is.
I'm pretty well dead on it right there.
Okay, now does it line up on the face?
Yep, check it.
So we'll be able to see this. You can just. I'm gonna take a can of paint and paint the top of that far post so we can see it better. There you go. All right, so hopefully you can just. It's really tough. Hopefully you can see as we just barely pull in the line right here, everything just kind of disappears. And that's what we're going for. He's probably just a little proud of the line right now, but as he drives it.
So backsiding is absolutely a skill. A lot of times guys will start off their fencing career using string lines, but then once you start setting posts day in, day out, you start wanting to backside it. And it's certainly a skill. And once you get it, you can be very good at it.
And that's what makes the ProTech so nice is that I can see the whole line. So you have one way you can drive and one way you can't. So being able to see.
I can backsight both sides of the post.
Backsight both sides of the post, especially when you're using pipe here, because I can see.
The absolute best part about this is I can do this without you.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I do need a second person, the second person can do something productive and not be standing there doing this.
So now that you got it all lined up, go ahead and drive it. And then when you get it down to depth, we'll just want to make sure that it's still plumb and in line. That is a nasty looking post.
Pretty gnarly, isn't it?
Look at that thing, that ProTech driver now.
Chain.
I don't know where in the country they are, but these things are massive. And driving post, so that's probably a discussion we can have is the fencing industry in general is transitioning towards driven posts. They're transitioning away from concrete. If you guys watch the channel, if you guys watch the content we put out in the past, we've tried the foam products, the expanding foam products for setting fence posts. Not the best results. I think that technology for the fencing has a bit to go. For whatever reason, now expanding foam, they use it in utility grid or in utility poles, right? In the utility infrastructure industry. So our thought was, well, if you can use it for telephone poles, utility poles, surely you can use it for fence posts. Whatever reason, it's just not up. It's not up to par for fencing. For the fence posts end up becoming very loose. Probably because when you're setting a utility pole, you're setting that thing 15, 20 foot in the ground. Whereas with fence posts, we're setting them 3 foot in the ground. So probably part of that. But anyway, the industry as a whole is moving towards driven posts. There's an ASTM standard here in the States that speaks to the allowed methods and the needed depth, etc., for driving posts that I think we can all look to and at least base our process off of. But yeah, so these Evo machines are absolutely something that are worth looking into. If you build a lot of agricultural fence, they're absolutely built for that business. But even if you're doing residential, commercial work, the standard Evo like he's using right now would be great at that. Residential, they have a smaller unit that can drive residential posts as well. That's something I'm interested in getting my hands on, trying out.
As my depth gauge.
That's a good idea, too.
As I'm walking down this hill, I need to allow more height to get me down this hill. So I watch this chain, and I kind of use this clam as a gauge. This is my wire strainer. When I'm moving up a hill, I drive it until this is collapsed. And that just gives me just about 1.5 inches to 2 inches, but sometimes that can kind of help soften the blow. And I use that as a gauge for how deep I need to go.
Yeah, really good idea.
And I can still see both sides of the post.
Yep. And you don't have to carry a stick.
I don't have to carry a stick.
dead on in line?
Yeah.
So now we can go back this way. And as you're learning to do this, it's really hard to see. I wish the lighting was better. You see how you're that way, just a smidge?
Just a tick. I don't even know.
So it's hard to see, but he's that way just enough that if he doesn't correct it, what we'll end up doing is we'll end up building a curved line and it'll go that way. And by the time we get down to our rapid post, we'll be off by 2 feet.
So I think something that we do on our machine is we mark the cylinder. When we need to make a small adjustment, we'll take a Sharpie and just put a little mark on the cylinder, pull it in until that mark disappears or touches the mark. That'll give me about a 1/16 of an inch of travel.
We just do it by eyesight, so I just pull it back. So
it's easier to train. Yep. It's easier to train a guy to put a mark on it, then he knows that that's just a little bit.
And when you're early on, the best time to check often is early on in your line when you first establish a line. That's where you get off the most. It's easier to see a line once you establish a whole bunch of posts and a whole bunch of reference points. But early on in the line is where you can get the most deviation and the most correction necessary. So
I had a guy that used to work with me. He gave me a great analogy. Fence posts are like family. If you look at each one of them separately, they all look like trash. But if you put them all together, they look pretty good. And don't judge them in the first 5. You got to wait till you get a couple dozen in.
So the other thing I'll make a mention of too is once you get the bottom established, the level this way doesn't matter so much. The level in line that way, it's forward and backward that you'll have to plumb it up with. Because all you're going to be concerned with is making sure the top of that post is in line with the rest of them and that you're hitting your rapid post back down behind us. That's going to be the biggest factor. And especially when you're dealing with posts this nasty, you can find any spot on that post that's probably plumb when you put a 2-foot level on it, and then you move it a little bit, and it's no longer plumb. So what your eye is going to be looking for isn't so much as whether or not the post is plumb. Your eye is going to see a lot more whether or not that post is in line.
So Fishing and Picking had a good point. Surprised this hasn't become automated with lasers and GPS. So we're starting to see that. So in the solar setting, which is where I first saw the ProTech machines was in guys that are setting solar farms or they're driving pilings for solar fields, solar farms. Those they do have lasers and GPS because in that they need to be precision driven. They need to go exactly where the plans call for them. They need to be angled exactly right. So you're seeing that. We're seeing that right now in the solar industry, the guys that are driving for solar, which means it's probably only a few years away from being used in residential, commercial, agricultural, where you'll have plans. The plans will detail out the geo coordinates of where each and every single post needs to go. And then at that point, the machine drives to that point, tells you exactly where the post. Now you're still going to have to plumb it up. I don't know. I mean, I guess that process could be automated as well. I mean, the machine holds the post. It knows once it's calibrated, it knows whether it's plumb or not. So yeah, it's, and this ties into the earlier discussion with labor force just not being available right now, just not wanting to come into the workforce. You're going to start seeing a lot more automation. I see it in my personal Facebook feed often. Folks are complaining about, the self-checkouts predominantly at Walmart, but you're seeing them at other retailers as well. That's a factor of automating the workforce because those self-checkout stations don't call in. They don't show up late. They don't need personal days for this, that, the other. They're just there consistently. They don't need breaks. I don't know. I mean, they need maintenance, obviously, but you don't have to put wanted ads for another one. You simply buy one and set it up and off it goes. Typically in these self-checkouts, you'll see one, associate, one team member in charge of, 8 or 9 of these registers, these self-checkout stations. So they're replacing their workforce because there's not the workforce available, and the workforce that is there is demanding higher and higher wages. We're currently having a discussion about having a minimum wage of whatever $15 an hour, which seems kind of crazy, honestly. And this isn't an economic show where I'm not going to get into cause and effect and inflation and all the rest, but that's the thing is when the workforce, when the labor force doesn't show up to work, doesn't become part of the workforce, then companies are forced to automate, as much of the process as possible. This gentleman earlier on in the video had the point. He said he can do this by himself. If he had one helper, they could be doing something else. They could probably be driving, that skid steer, and they could be depositing posts further on down the line, that sort of thing. But in a pinch, he could build this fence by himself. So, depending in irregardless of which trade you're in, whether we're talking about fencing or plumbing or electricians or whatever, everyone is planning for the day where the workforce continues to shrink, that they just simply don't have the labor available to perform the task, and they're automating as much as possible. And, that's simply a function of not having the labor in the workforce. So, it's the thing. Don't complain about it if the companies are simply solving a problem. If they had available workforce, a labor force that was in the workplace that made sense economically, where the automation was just so expensive that it didn't make sense, and if it wasn't as reliable as the workforce, then they wouldn't lead to automation, right? They wouldn't look to automation to try to solve the problem of an inconsistent labor force. I use those two terms interchangeably, and they probably shouldn't be, and I get it. But anyway, fishing and picking had a great point. I think you'll start seeing that more automation, laser, and GPS. Like I said, it's already in the solar industry, so it'll only be a year or two before we start seeing it in the residential, commercial, ag fencing.
So we'll see. Now that he's got a line established. And with these, you can push the post back a little bit. You can pull it to you. You can just make those pretty small adjustments.
If I pull on it just a little bit and tap it in normal ground, just a little bit of small vibration will move that post and leave it and not lose any depth by driving.
Yep.
So just a little bit of vibration will sometimes move that post just enough to get us that little bit of movement we
Sometimes
need.
we'll have to push them over and just use the digging bar to kind of retent the top.
All right, let's check these.
All right, let's. Oh, that's going to be perfect. I bet we're almost dead on. Again, it's going to be. You can shut it off, Ryan. We'll talk a little bit. Oh, yeah, this is. You can't see it because you can't see that end post, but it's dead on. If I move this in line with my eye, I can just barely see it. I mean, it's dead on.
So I'm using that chain to walk my flow down. Now, you can't really see it in the video, but we're changing terrain here as we go down.
What's up with that milk carton walking through your pasture?
There's only one.
There's only one, Charles.
There's only
Charles
one.
Sloop. Let's talk about why you would want to use this method versus a string. So you have all this vegetation on the ground that hangs up strings and hangs up wires, but we've also got a hill. And so we can only see probably the top 3 feet of that post down there. We've got a little bit of a rolling hill that we're going to come off of. And when you've got.
So fishing and picking's got another point here about it. And we can certainly just transition to this conversation. This is the direction if you guys like to. Crazy to think $15 an hour may become minimum. Remember finally making $15 an hour at the age of 24 and being able to purchase my first home thinking I had made it. Now kids in high school will be making $15 an hour. I would argue that they're not. So, I mean, some will. But, if you can find a job where, on the business side of it, if that task warrants $15 an hour and your clients will pay you to pay someone $15 an hour, then they will, I guess. But what I think we're going to see a lot is we're going to see we're going to see the entry level workforce drop out, just not get hired. If we're talking about, here locally, everyone talks about the baggers, the grocery baggers, bag boys and bag girls, getting paid $15 an hour. Well, you see this at Menards, at least here locally at our Menards, there is no baggers, right? There are no baggers. The cashier simply rings up your items, it rolls down a conveyor belt, and you bag your own not groceries, but your own, whatever you're buying at Menards. I think you'll probably start seeing that at, grocery stores, where they say, well, instead of, we can't pay a bagger $15 an hour. So instead, you, the customer, are not going to bag your own groceries, or else the cost of goods goes up. And the consumer will say, well, I'm not willing to pay double for my milk, so I will bag my own. Please and thank you. And here's the thing. So, like I said, I'm a fence guy. I am not an economist, but, you got to think that, if minimum's 15, that means our starting wage would be for entry level will probably be $20 an hour, and then what happens? So if entry is 20, what our experienced guys are going to be 25, 28. So what does that do to the price of fence? Well, now the price of fence goes up. So now all of a sudden, if we're talking about, the terminology that gets used a lot is livable wage. So now all of a sudden, $15 an hour just isn't a livable wage because everything costs so much because the prices have gone up, right? So the analogy a lot of folks use also is at a fast food restaurant, whichever one you prefer, Wendy's or Arby's, McDonald's, etc. But, your dollar menu becomes a $5 menu because now everyone gets paid a base of 15. And most, if the base is 15, so your experienced workforce is going to be paid more than that because they say, hey, I am not minimum wage. I have skills that are much beyond minimum skills, so I will not be paid a minimum wage. So it's just, one guy's opinion, a fence guy's opinion of that, not even an economist, is, setting a higher minimum wage, I don't think solves the problem that you think it's going to solve. I think it's going to create more problems than you intended on solving. But I agree. $15 an hour is crazy. I remember going through high school, and I'm starting to sound like my dad and my granddad. Back in my day, gas was 90 cents a gallon and I could make, $4 an hour. And I really thought I was making some money. $15 an hour is crazy, but it's a valid point. $15 an hour as a minimum is crazy. I really think it is. But nobody picks up the phone and calls a fence guy and asks him about economics. So it's above my pay grade, I suppose. I can certainly have my opinions, but we're all kind of riding along the ship and seeing where it goes, I suppose.
A string or a wire line, you've got to snap it. And a lot of times, if you can't pull it up high enough, it can actually just snap right back down to the ground offline. And so whether or not you're fighting with wind or you're fighting with vegetation and trees and stuff like that, line of sight gives you a lot more flexibility for the type of terrain and the type of obstacles you may.
And something that we've learned from y'all is we have a PVC pipe, heavy wall PVC pipe, and we'll take a level to it. If we're sighting over a hill where we can't see over it, then we'll set that down on the ground, plumb it, and then we'll rifle it in and have somebody at the other end hold that pipe up.
Yep.
Just like a grade stick, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So that was another thing I was going to mention here. Grab that. If you're trying to practice doing this at home, one of the things that you could do before you go to the field and actually put it into practice when you've got maybe concrete is take a bunch of surveyor's laths, and they're kind of wide. They're about 2 inches wide. You can actually go out and line all those up and make a nice line. You can practice the same thing, getting them all to the right height. So if this is something you're trying to do, go out and practice some of the stuff we talked about on the board and just drive them in and try and get them plumb and sight them all in and see how straight a line you can build. Maybe just do 100 feet of them or something like that. But a surveyor's lath, a bundle of those are super cheap, and it would give you the ability to practice this. You just need to find some place where you can actually get them in the ground. They don't have to go in that deep even. You just need them so that the hold up, so you can get them plumb and then side them in with the next one and just keep on going. So that's, that would be my suggestion if you're trying to learn this, is just find something cheap that you can go out and line up repetitively without a lot of money. And that'll help you get your height too, because once you get a whole bunch of them set, you'll be able to see kind of what the ground's doing. You can stand back after you get 20 posts set and say, okay, I can kind of see what the ground's doing and I need to adjust it, and then use your eyeball and that sight mark we talked about to bring it up and down. If it looks good when you stand back from an angle like this, if it looks good doing that, then it'll look good when it's all finished. If you stand back from your fence after you get it all graded out and something looks awry there before you put all the rails and everything on, then it'll look funny when it's all done. So
something else that we do that we learned over in Europe is this is just for the ag market, but we measure everything from the top of the post down instead of from the ground up. Because as we set our flow of the post, if we measure everything from the top of the post down, and when we put our net on or our wire on, if we need to make an adjustment up or down, then we can come back and tap this down. It's harder to get them back up, but you can tap them down to kind of make it roll, and then your net and your post are consistent. Nobody's ever going to look at the ground. They're always going to look at the tops.
Yeah, and you can do that in chain link. It's a little harder, but we've done it with continuous fence or something. We've come back after time and knock some posts down. Typically, we set all the heights so everything flows well in advance of ever putting top rail or anything on it. But in an ag fence application, you could come and knock this post down. We did it on some snow fence once, really tall snow fence. We came and...
All right. Active Dads is agreeing with the minimum wage discussion being a little bit ridiculous. Active Dads also says, would love to be on. I build fences here in Dallas. Active Dads, I'd love to have you on. So email me at joe@thefenceexpert.show and simply let me know that. Say, hey, we were talking about coming on and asking questions and being a part of the fencing discussion. I'd love to do that live with you, and we'll certainly get connected and bring you on. Now, I don't want anyone to think we're talking about 2.5 hours of helping do this. I certainly don't. It's not something you do right off the bat. 2.5 hours takes quite a bit of it's a lot of time, and I get it. So what I'm probably going to do is set up for 4 or 5 guys, or gals. I don't 4 or 5 folks to come on and be a part of the discussion. So if it's 2.5 hours long, maybe we get 5 people at half an hour. There we go. We're at our 2.5 hour mark. That sort of thing. So Active Dads, send me an email. joe@thefenceexpert.show. .show is important. And let me know that you're interested in that. We'll certainly have you be one of the inaugural, that's the word, folks on the show. I'd love to have you on. Absolutely. Like I said, love this name, Active Dads Rule.
Knocked them all down and just kind of tidied them up later on. So in concrete applications, what we always do, because we've got our grade mark down here, let's say our grade mark's right down here at the bottom of the post. We know that as long as we can see that grade mark right here, then we should be able to get that chain link to work, or the wire, or whatever you're using. If we know that if that mark goes below the soil level, then we're going to have to trench something in, or if it's above the soil level, we know that that's where we may have a little bit of a gap underneath the fence. So we can see over the top of this, and already I can see, if I look over the top of this, that second one looks high, because if I look from this one to the third one, you can see how we can't see the third one. It's because the middle one's too high. So probably that next one down would need to be knocked down just a little bit, just gauging off of that.
Yep.
But you can play with that. And that's one of the harder things to teach people how to do. It's pretty easy to teach people how to put things in line this way. It's a lot harder to teach them to do that with their eyesight. But if you can do that, you won't get those herky-jerky lines that strings will leave you. All right, so quick tips. Practice with some survey lasts to get your height and get your flow. Use flagging tape, or if it's a possibility, you can always paint the tops. I've seen people paint just a teeny little bit of top of the post, kind of like we did back behind here with the white paint. Give yourself something to see very easily, both sides. Use both sides of the post if you have a good, round, perfect product. But if you don't have a perfect product, only use one side of the post and double check yourself often. When you're lining posts up after you've set the bottom, let's say the bottom's in the ground. Once it's set in the ground, that's it. You can't do any more. All you can do from that point in time is level it up side to side in line. And then, I don't know what you call that laterally. Yeah, you just basically plumb it up and then make sure that it's in line and shooting towards your rabbit post or in line with all the rest of the posts. If it's a fraction of a bubble out, especially when you're using a product that's not perfect like these posts, it isn't going to matter. You're never going to see that. Your eye's going to see the whether or not it's in line way more than it's going to see whether or not it's out of plumb. So focus on those things, practice your craft, and until next time, you have a good dang day.
All right. So, guys, like I said, Mark Olson's got an incredible channel, especially for you fence guys, fence professionals. SWIWyoming.com. Well, that's his website. SWI Fence and Supply of Powell is the YouTube channel. You guys ought to check him out. He's got a lot of good content. So he came by. We had a discussion. We did an interview here with Mark, and I think it went really well. So Mark's already put a couple of clips up. Not on the SWI. Let's go back to this. So I believe that one is the successful contractor. Well, if I can find my mouse, there we go. Successful contractor. So this is another one of Mark's channels, Successful Contractor. So this is more of like business type discussions. So if we look at the videos, we talk about key steps for starting on YouTube. So we had a nice discussion about that. Also, you talked about 1099 subcontractor or employee. Now, this is a big discussion that comes up. Trades in general, fencing specifically, it comes up quite a lot. But then he and I also talked about what is that? How we got started. Yep. So he's probably got a couple more videos of his and I's interview, and then he's got we did a not job site walkthrough, like a yard. We did a building tour here, the new facility we've got. We also did a walkthrough of the yard, and kind of we stopped by the old shop and old office, kind of where we did business for since the late 80s. Where we were before we expanded over into our current situation here. So anyway, Successful Contractor, check that channel out too. Again, guys, really undervalued here at 656 subscribers. I mean, the content that Mark puts out is really incredible. You ought to give him a follow. You ought to see what he's up to over there, because he's up to good stuff. I'd like to show him support because he showed me support. I mean, full transparency, obviously. He has me on his channel, but that's not why I'm saying this. Mark's a really good guy. He's got the same thought that several of us have, whether it's me or whether it's Sean King or whether it's really any of us that are doing content on here. His heart is he wants to help people. He wants to help contractors. This one's contractors in general, build better businesses so that they elevate the industry in general. Because again, a rising tide raises all the ships, right? So that's kind of where he's coming from on that. Let's do this. Let's give him a view on this video too. Let's see
YouTube.
Let's see what we talked about on starting YouTube. Because guys, seriously, this is one of my passions, is getting contractors to start creating video content about their trade. You can watch the impact it has on your business in almost real time. It really can be a game changer. Game changer is such a cliche word. It can change your business. So let's start this from the beginning and see what we talk about as far as YouTube goes. Oh, Roger's here. Let's say hi to Roger real quick. Welcome, Roger. Welcome back. I'm glad you made it. So, Roger, what we're doing is we're watching some content. So, this is Mark Olson's. This set looks familiar, I'd say. He and I sat down and had a chat about this one. Again, was about getting started on YouTube. It'd be great if I clicked on the correct screen. Well, guys, just when you think I've got this stuff figured out,
here, or I don't have the right setup, or I don't, you'll spend forever trying to get that just right. Start producing content today. The equipment will come later.
I really like his intro.
And another thing I would say, how important is it to kind of know your market? Do you need to have a niche?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a niche.
Yeah.
Niche. You kind of need to figure out who you are and what you're going to be about.
Well, absolutely. And we figured that out. Like I started off, I can't impress this enough to say you have to create content that's true to you, that you enjoy doing. We had a conversation yesterday that I love producing content like this in a studio. It's a controlled environment. I can do it anytime, any day, if it's raining or if it's hot. You love doing content on the SWI channel outdoors.
I want to go outside and destroy some stuff. That's really what
because
I want to do.
Because that's you. Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
trying to figure out how can I wreck something while I do this.
Absolutely.
That's just what I do.
And that's why people appreciate your channel, because it is content that's true to you and it comes out. So we started creating content that was true to me and true to what I like to do. And then we just started watching what videos did well. YouTube algorithm is such a crazy thing. We talked about this before too, that even YouTube isn't 100% clear on how the algorithm works. YouTube, the analysts within YouTube will watch videos to see which videos do well to try to guess how the algorithm's working. These people built this thing and they don't know how it works.
Because it's artificially intelligent at this point in time. It's
100%.
kind of doing its own thing and it knows what to put out based on the algorithms they put in. But
yeah,
it's kind of thinking its own things.
That's it. And they've got a general idea how it works. But so my thing is, if YouTube doesn't know how the algorithm works, I've got no chance to try to really fully understand it. So I simply watch the videos that perform well and create more videos like that, because the algorithm is telling me, hey, these videos perform better than the other videos. I think that's probably one of the keys to our success, is simply just watching the analytics and producing more videos that look like the videos that did well prior.
So what are some tips you would give somebody that's getting ready to get started in this? Because I think there's some misconceptions about this. And what are some big tips that you've taken away over the last 2 years of running this?
The biggest thing is get started. Like I can't, everyone always says that, but I cannot emphasize that enough, that you have to get started. If you sit and you think about, well, I don't have the right gear, or I don't have the right setup, or you'll spend forever trying to get that just right. Start producing content today. The equipment will come later. Now, that's not to say if you can afford some equipment, by all means, buy a camera, buy some lights, but that's not necessary. The biggest tip I give folks when we're talking about creating content is do it live. So whether it's Facebook Live, whether it's YouTube Live, whichever platform you prefer to be on, do it live. Because I can't tell you how many missed opportunities I had in the beginning by trying to re-record the same video over and over until I got it perfect, right? And by going live, I don't have that option. I also don't have the option of not putting it out. They'll watch a video and go, well, that wasn't totally great. I said, and I said, and I mispronounced this word. Going live, you don't have that opportunity. And so you get content out into the world faster and more efficient.
Let's talk about the other elephant in that, and that is editing.
So I'll expand on that for just a second. Even if you're, and we might get into that here in just a second, I guess. But I would, when you're doing video content for your business, I would absolutely recommend not editing out the ums and ahs. Great example. So in the initial fence foam video where we use a Sika Pro Select, This thing took all day to record. It was one of the first few videos we had done outside. There's a lot of traffic. There's just a lot of noise. We took a lot of takes of this video. And some of the takes I used correct terminology, plumb. Some of them I used the word level. I understand those are not interchangeable terms. They mean different things. 100%, I get it. But in the moment, I used the word level rather than plumb. So when we're editing this thing, the best take pretty consistently had me calling the post level. And we had the real discussion. We're like, hey, so, all right, do we go with the correct terminology, plumb, or do we go with level? Ultimately, we decided to leave level in. Right now, could we have gone and re-recorded that and made sure we used the exact correct terminology and we cut out all the ums and ahs? Sure, but we left it in as level. Now, have we seen that correction in the comments? Absolutely. It's probably the number one comment on that video is that the terminology should be plumb, should not be level. I get it, but anyway, so if you're doing video for your business, I would absolutely encourage you to leave it as real as possible, as real life. Leave in the ums and ahs because you're a person. Guess what? People are watching this. They understand that people are real, that they're not perfect, that they don't use correct terminology, or they say and ah occasionally. People get it, and it makes the video feel more real. And that might be what we're getting ready to talk about.
One of the things that stopped me from doing anything for a long time was I just loathed editing.
Yeah.
I did not want to have to do any of that.
That's real.
And so if you do it live, guess what? No editing.
No editing. And here, my argument towards live as well is because there's no editing, because it has all the ums and ahs in it, you're more personable. So the audience that you're trying to reach, they can relate with you easier. And so when we're creating content around my service business, Ozark Fence, I want people to view us as real people. People do business, they form relationships with people faster and more often than they do with brands. And so we talked about this over breakfast, is that in the early 80s, Nike needed an advantage over Reebok, Adidas, whoever else was selling shoes at the time. So they hired Michael Jordan because he had already built his community of people that were passionate about him, that he had already formed these relationships with. As of May of 2020, Forbes put out an article. As of May of 2020, Nike had paid Michael Jordan $1.3 billion with a B dollars to be their spokesperson. I firmly believe that's because there wasn't a John Nike. There wasn't a guy in Nike that started creating the branding, that started creating the marketing. There was no one person that was the face of Nike. So they had to pay, and they paid handsomely for that. But to your point that you made at breakfast, they also got rewarded for that handsomely. I mean, Nike's huge. I mean, how many kids wanted Jordans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, all the kids wanted Jordans when I was in school.
They still want them. People collect those. They're still a collector's item. There's people that want every set of Jordans. Think of the Pawn Stars guy. Chun-Li.
That's right, Chun-Li, yeah.
I mean, so that's the kind of cult following they've built around the Jordan brand at Nike.
That's right. How different would that brand look if someone had done that internally? If there had been a John Nike, that was his family's business and he was passionate about it. You know what I mean? Or, and that's an example, but if you could be your own brand ambassador, one, more personable relationships, because people understand that Jordan is a paid spokesperson. If it was his family's passion, their obsession, I think there would be more relationships built with that brand. So I encourage people to start creating this so that they can be their own brand ambassador. They can obviously save the money, not having to hire somebody. But two, I really think it could form deeper relationships with our potential clients.
So again, I want to touch on another subject. We're all scared to be in front of the camera, and we don't start off polished, and we just, we start off and we want it to be perfect because we've seen Joe Everest and how personable you are in front of the camera, and it's like, I did my video, and it just wasn't Joe Everest quality.
Let's pause here and talk about that. I'm still not super comfortable sitting in a room speaking to a camera.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't feel natural to anybody.
I can talk to myself, no problem. I'm crazy though. So
Sure.
I'll have a whole conversation with myself. That's not even a big deal. I've been doing that for years. So
just another day.
It's just another day in my head.
But
So I just wanted to say one thing, just an example. So if you go to SWI's channel and you look at some of the videos, I've actually had my brother start doing some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And so you'll see how he's uncomfortable, but as he just even a couple videos in, he's getting more comfortable in front of the camera, and it'll just develop. Nobody starts out knowing exactly how to behave in front of the camera.
no, and I have an example for this as well. No one starts running marathons, right? No one wakes up in the morning and says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run a marathon today. No, they'd hurt themselves, right? And they wouldn't make it. So they start with shorter jogs, then they increase the interval, they increase the length. I really firmly believe people should do that with video. Start small. Do a 1 minute live. Hey guys, here's who I am. Here's why you should know me. So what I always challenge when I'm talking to other fence guys, I always challenge them to make the first 5 videos be the who, the what, the when, the where, the why of them and their business. Hey guys, Joe Everest with Ozark Fence. We've been doing fence for 3 generations since 1955. I think that's important. If you think that's important, stay tuned to the next set of videos because I'm going to talk about who, the what, the when, the where, the why of Ozark Fence. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Special.
That's right.
We're all special.
But that's
In
the video.
way.
That's the entire video. It can be a 1 minute live video. And by doing them every day, you're increasing frequency, but you're not increasing duration. Simple 1 minute videos until you start becoming comfortable. And then maybe it's a 2 minute video. Maybe it's a 3 minute video. You don't start with 2.5 hour live broadcasts. I wouldn't. I didn't. I wouldn't do that. If I were looking back and starting over again, I wouldn't do that. You start small, build your audience, and so they're used to seeing you. And to your point, so that you're comfortable doing it.
So this isn't just so that we're all very clear. This can work very well. We've talked about a plumber that does this.
Yeah.
You could be an electrician. You could be a finished carpenter. You could be a cabinet maker. You could teach people how to lay carpet better in there.
Absolutely.
Just tile. It doesn't matter what kind of contracting you're in. You can showcase your business and what makes you special on YouTube.
Absolutely.
And help drive customers to your business so that it'll help you increase your profits.
That's right. That's absolutely correct. And I say the same thing when I'm talking to fence guys, when I'm talking to roofers, when I just came back from a conference in Atlanta for power washers. And it's always the same concept. 5 videos, the who, the what, the when, the where, the why of your business live so that you don't have to edit, you don't cut, you just put it out into the world and let it live. That works for any industry because it works for any industry where your customers are people. Because you want people to form relationships with you and through you, your brand.
So I think there's a new tool out there, and it's something that I've started using a little bit more, and we've talked about it. But YouTube can seem a little bit cluttered, I think, at times, and people can get overwhelmed by it. I've got to put out an 8-minute video. I've got to edit things. One of the things that I will suggest to you is if you're scared about that, maybe start on TikTok. I think that I'll probably get a little bit of pushback because everything, I'm not 18, I'm a grown adult. I don't need to be on TikTok. But let me tell you what, right now is the time to get in. And right now should have been 2 years ago, but I started doing some stuff on TikTok for our business, SWI Fence, put it on there. And I like TikTok right now more than I like Facebook and Instagram, but you can cross pollinate. And the nice thing about that is it's 1 minute videos. So you're keeping it short. You can edit it with your phone if you need to. And you're just showcasing some stuff about your business. I follow people that do cabinet work. I follow a Sparky from, I don't remember where that Sparky is. I think he's in Wichita, maybe even. So an electrician, sorry.
A dentist.
I follow all kinds of crazy people on there, and they have, and it's, some of their stuff's great. Some of it's not. It's 1 minute videos, but it's entertaining and educational as well.
And it's out there.
Yeah.
That content is living out there. And here would be my argument about it being too young. People said the same thing about Facebook. Facebook is too young, it's for kids. Here's the thing. Who wants to watch kids? Their parents and their grandparents. My dad's on TikTok because he loves watching what his grandkids are doing on TikTok. That's how these platforms grow. Well, or just see what they're up to. You know what I mean? Like just try to be involved in their day-to-day lives when he's not, on the days where he doesn't see them, he can still feel like he relates to them because he watches whatever they're doing on TikTok that day. Like the channel is growing. I watch an incredible amount of TikTok. I love it because it's bite-sized pieces of content. It cannot be more than 60 seconds long. So if I've got to spare a couple minutes, wherever I happen to be, where I'm going to be there for a couple minutes sitting down, I'll sit there and scroll through TikTok, right? And I think so. I say all that to say I don't think the demographic is as young as people believe it is.
There's a lot of things out there on TikTok now. It says, where do you think all the teenagers have gone now that they're 30 and 40-year-olds are taking over TikTok? And that's true.
That's absolutely
I do an
true.
incredible amount of TikTok. We have one for our business. I have a personal one.
Yeah.
If you want to know anything about that, drop me some comments. Maybe I'll tell you what it is, or you can just find me organically. Because I like it because on my personal one, I can just be who I am.
Absolutely.
I'm not worried about whether or not I'm still trying to keep it, relative to some people. But
Sure.
I'm not going to be counter to who I am. I'm not going to be fake just to try and please people. I will not do that on any of my channels ever.
Well, those channels don't succeed. Like you can sniff that out pretty quickly watching videos that are not true to that person. Like they just feel wrong. It's that intuition, it's that gut feeling that says this isn't right. Something in here not quite right. Can't put my finger on it, but it doesn't feel real.
So you'd say that's probably a tip is be true to who you are whenever you're doing this.
Absolutely. Follow your passion.
All right, guys. So that was part of an interview I did there with Mark Olson. So like I said, guys, give him a follow. So this channel is a successful contractor. He's producing really good content. I like watching it. I like watching other guys create content around the contractor space, trying to help other people succeed. I like that a lot. And Mark's up to some good stuff. So if you guys get a chance, you gotta check out his content. He's up to some good business over there. Well, guys, we're about done. We've got about 7 more minutes left until 12:30 Central Standard, which is typically when I sign off. So we got a few more minutes. As you guys, if you got questions, drop them in the comments below. If you got comments, suggestions, etc., let me know. I'll be glad to interact with you guys here. If you guys haven't said hello, so there's a few people on here that have hung out through the entire duration, and I appreciate you a lot. If you've said hello, then say hello again. Let me know you're still here. But also, if you haven't said hello, be sure to let me know you're here and let everyone know you're here just simply by saying hi. One thing we haven't done today is we haven't said where everybody's from. So I know we've got some guys. Let's see. So we had Maine. We had Kansas City, Missouri. We had Norway earlier. We had Australia. Listen, no one is going to blame Australia if Liam is not still here. But as of a little while ago, he was still here. It was 2:30 in the morning in Australia, and Liam was sticking in with us. I appreciate that a lot. Let me know where you guys are from. I like putting together a mental picture of where you guys are and where, how big of a viewership or how wide of a net that YouTube is throwing out there. Sure like to hear about that. Of course, like I said, if you guys do have fence questions, drop them in the comments below. We'll round this out on some fencing related content. That would be good. So I know this is running a little bit behind. So let me go back up through here and make sure we haven't missed any. Well, we had, yeah. So we had Landmark Creation. Actually, you know what? We'll just go through and say hi to everybody once again. Split Rock Fence was here. Makito's here almost every time. I appreciate that. Landmark was here consistently. Same thing with Fishing and Picking. I hope Landmark's fence is doing well. Landmark, if you're watching this on replay, let us know how that fence went. Walter was here with us. Walter's with us almost every single week. We appreciate that. Ah, here he is. So Liam was saying hello from Australia. Unbelievable. Very impressive. Kenny Dugan was with us for a little bit. He might still be with us. I don't want to say anyone is signed off yet. We've actually, looking at the screen, we've got quite a few of you still here. Let's see. Joe Savage was here. I always like talking with fellow Joes. Yeah. I guess once we start this, we need to go through here and say hi to everybody again. So that way everyone. Wolf Commander was here. Fish and Picking we were talking about some stuff for a while. Like I said, fellow Joe. Let's see. Chris Gomez was here. Thank you so much, Chris. Praetorian, I really hope I got that name right. Tank and Some Teller was here. Active Dad's Rule, man. Like I said, I've said this a lot. I really do like that name. Nathan Fry was here. He's a fellow Missourian up in Kansas City. Michael Jones had a great question. Let's see. Oh, Roger barely made it. I really appreciate it. Roger's here every single week. I think Roger's been watching maybe since the first live stream. I want to say it's since the first live stream. He's been here for quite a while. Roger, thank you, sir. And he's still here out of the Houston area. Texas is usually really well represented in these live streams. We've got so Active Dads is in the Dallas area. So he's building fences in Dallas. Roger's in the Houston area. Fishing and Picking, OBX is out of North Carolina. So I should remember that. I know we've talked about this. Yeah, I was actually born out in North Carolina. Spent the first 11 years of my life out there in the outside of Raleigh at Cary. Beautiful area. Need to get back there and see it again. I'm sure it's completely different. Makito's right. I think we got Texas covered. Well represented for sure. Corsaroc. Man, Corsaroc. I hope I apologize for butchering names here. I hope it's Corsaroc. Maybe not. Great show. Thank you. Here's the thing. I'm simply the guy behind the camera. You guys are making this content great by asking great questions, steering the conversations through this 2.5 hour journey, bearing with me as I get things wrong and mispronounce things, and just generally am not great at technology. We're figuring it out, though. I like it. Kosarok's from Philadelphia area. Philly guy there. All right. I love it. David Strange's got a question. Are you familiar with wedge lock system? I'm looking to use them on T-post and in conjunction with 4x4 post. I am not. The wedge lock system. I tell you what, let's check it out. All right. So we are going to navigate. Can we do this? Probably. Grab a keyboard here. Need a bigger table. All right. So we're going to go to Google. We're going to look up wedge lock. Wedge lock system. All right. Let's see what this is about. So, okay. Said you're using it with T-post. So it looks like it's for bracing. 20 years in the industry, so that's always great. North America and Europe. Hardware for T-post, the most convenient, dependable bracing fencing system on the market. Okay, that's a big claim. Why spend time? Wedge lock allows you to complete a fence corner in as little as 15 minutes. Simply drive your T-post and install wedge lock hardware. No tools required, no hassle, no cleanup. Interesting. So I haven't used it. If you guys in the chat have used this, be sure to let us know. Let's check out, see what products are available. I'm curious how there's no tools involved. Looks like they got hinges, so that's kind of an interesting thought too. Allows you to hang lightweight gate on T-posts of up to 10-foot length gate. Length of gate depends on type of brace supporting. Interesting. Seems like a good idea. Nice concept. Now I'll be completely transparent. We don't install agricultural fencing, so we don't install a lot of T-posts. Typically, the only T-posts we installed are with like construction fencing. But I can see how this could have its place in construction fencing. So we got horizontal braces, diagonal braces, wood post braces. Okay. We got a collar. Interesting. So it's a friction mount, essentially. Let's watch this.
The revolutionary new wedge lock hardware for T-post fencing. Now you can do what you've never been able to do before with T-posts.
Sorry, the volume's low. The volume on the video itself is actually really low.
Fencing pliers. The wedge lock is a simple way that allows you to put up a fence in a fraction of the time it would normally take. And building a corner is no longer a long, back-breaking ordeal. No digging post holes, no pouring concrete, and no rotting wood. Basis of the wedge lock system is the universal collar that fits medium to heavy T-posts and the many accessories that can be attached to the collar. Step 1. Establish the location of your...
Well, certainly it looks interesting. So to answer your question, I don't have experience with it itself. But certainly seems interesting. If you guys are familiar with wedge lock and have used it, be sure to let us know in the comments below. Bring this back. There we are. All right. Great question, David. So, yeah, the question was, are you familiar? I'm really not. But it seems like a decent system. I mean, it's always anything's worth a try. You know what I mean? It's worth a shot. At 100K subs, we give a fence away. Probably not. The only reason being our viewership isn't really that. We don't have a lot of viewers here in my market. So Ozark Fence, my fencing installation business, we only travel about a 30-mile radius of Springfield, Missouri. So we don't have a lot of viewership here. So I don't know that it'd be hugely beneficial if we gave away a fence. Now, at 10K, here's a question that comes up all the time. At 10K, you gave away $10,000. That's true. I gave away 10 $1,000 Amazon e-gift cards. What are you going to do for 100K? I'm probably not giving away $100,000. Let's just set that expectation right now. But yeah, we're going to do something big. I think we ought to. Now, we're still a ways away. We're at 21,000, I think. Let's check that. Let's check it on the picture-in-picture. Nope, turn it on. There we go. All right. So let's navigate back to YouTube. Put me over on the other side so I can kind of see what I'm doing. Oh, need to take off. Caleb, need to take your logo down for just a second. That way I can kind of see what I'm doing here. So, your channel. There we go. See where we're at. We are at 22,800 subscribers, which that's unbelievable to me. I really didn't think that's humbling for sure. The 22,800 people have decided that they would like to watch my content regularly. That's huge. So this is always kind of fun to look at. So this was that first video that really got us on the map. No. This is views in the last 30 days. Oh, okay. So this was the reaction video that we did to DIY Renovision. But hey, that's weird because it dips down almost immediately. Why'd that happen? Well, that's because DIY Renovision decided that they would tell YouTube that we violated their copyright notice and that YouTube had to take down our video immediately. And they did. Well, the problem is when we create these reaction videos, they're created in a very specific way. Where when I'm doing the video, I'll pause it and we'll talk about it for a little bit, and then we'll resume, and then we'll watch, and then we'll pause and talk about it while giving running commentary, and that's important. In the DMCA, the Digital Millennial Copyright Act, there's a very specific section that talks about fair use of copyrighted materials. And one of the stipulations under the fair use is commentary. If there's a running commentary, or there's other stipulations involved with fair use as well. Criticism is there. Now, If you guys have watched my review videos, you know I try not to be critical or provide criticism. I like if there is, it's constructive, right? There's enough negative criticism. There's not enough negative review videos out there. I don't think YouTube needs more. We're not going to be producing that content anyway. So we create these videos under the fair use guidelines. Very, very structured, very particular. Irregardless, DIY Renovision decided that they would just send YouTube this takedown notice and see if it stuck, and it did for about a month. We submitted almost immediately. No, that's not true. So immediately, what we did was I emailed DIY Renovision channel directly, and I said, "Hey, this is Joe. I've got the channel, the video that you've taken down, you've had YouTube take down. We created this under the fair use guidelines of the DMCA. Here is exactly the structure that we followed. Here's why we're within these bounds." Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind putting it back up, that'd certainly save a lot of us a lot of time. We gave it 48 hours and didn't hear back from them. So then we had to file a legal motion. It's a counter notification to the takedown notice to YouTube. And then YouTube had to review that legal document. Then they had to forward it to DIY Renovision, who then I believe they had up 10 to 14, which no one ever answered my question. They had 10 to 14 business days to respond. The only way they could respond is if there was a formal lawsuit brought in federal court here in the United States. No one ever answered what's the difference between 10 and 14 days. I mean, those are 4 business days. It's almost a week. Anyway, so they didn't respond, obviously, because it is within fair use guidelines. And then YouTube put the video back up. But as you can see, we never did really get back into it. But anyway, so yeah, we are at 22,800 subscribers. Thanks to you guys. Thank you so very much. But we're not giving away a fence at 100K just because I'm sure there are some viewers of the channel that also happen to be inside Ozark Fence's service radius, but I'd say the majority of those 22,800 are not in our service area, and we couldn't go build them a fence. We're certainly not going to Norway to build a fence or Australia, pretty well outside of our service area. And there are laws about traveling for work right now. So anyway. Fish and pickings. I lived in Cary, North Carolina during college. Yeah, at NC State. Absolutely. Very cool. Very cool. What a small world. So when let's play this game, Fish and Picking. When were you living in Cary? So I would have lived in Cary from 83 to 94. That math seems to work. Thereabouts. 83 to early 80s to early 90s. And then we moved here to Missouri. So my dad actually moved back. All of our family was from here. He had gotten to North Carolina just following his job. So he was the executive director of a company called United Cerebral Palsy. They helped those folks that are afflicted with cerebral palsy and their families through group homes, that sort of thing. Also in-home care. That's how he wound up in Raleigh. One thing led to the other. And my granddad, it was actually Christmas. I remember we were all sitting at the Christmas. We always travel back to Missouri to have Christmas with my dad's family. And we were sitting around the Christmas table or the dinner table at Christmas. And my grandpa said, "All right, I've got something to say." He said, "I'm going to sell the fence company. I'd like to sell it to one of you, but I am going to sell it to somebody." And one thing led to the other. And my dad bought the fence company and moved us back to Missouri. And the rest is history, I guess. Mostly for the dogs. So Dave, all right. So we're talking about the wedge lock system on the T-post. Looks good. So David was saying it was mostly for the dogs, and he's got a big yard. Completely understandable, especially with the price of fencing right now. Holy cow, right? So every week, our supply truck, when it shows up, the prices have gone up. It's like clockwork. It's almost every item. Sometimes items week to week will stay the same. Most of the time, they've increased. For example, barbed wire. This week, well, previous weeks, when we buy a roll of barbed wire, it's like 1,320 feet, I think, in a roll. It's about $75, $76. This week, $167 per roll that we're used to paying 70 some odd dollars for. Interesting, right? So don't blame you. Video looks like it was made in the 90s. Yeah, that wedge lock video did. It probably was. It says they've been in the market for 20 years. Maybe new marketing could be in order. But yeah, it kind of gets the point across. David says, I appreciate you checking it out. Absolutely, David. Absolutely. We are almost at 23,000. 200 people left. So I think we gain a couple thousand people a month is kind of where we're averaging right now. So we should hit 23 fairly quickly. Hopefully, if all goes to plan. Oh, yep. So Dave's got a great question. Is the price for wood fencing skyrocketing along with other lumber prices? Yes, absolutely. So in our production meeting yesterday, we came to the understanding or agreement that we're no longer offering treated pine. Whether it's pickets or 2x4s. We haven't offered treated pine 4x4s in quite a while. But we're no longer offering it just because treated pine, again, is doing similar to what it did last year, where the availability started falling out. The demand was still high. And so prices skyrocketed and you couldn't find it. So, and still currently in the market right now, we still only have number 2. You can't, as far as fencing material, you can't find number 1 in our market, number 1 treated pine. So high quality treated pine is not available. So we're switching to cedar. So cedar pickets, cedar rails. This is the crazy thing. Right now, we can buy a cedar 2x4/8. Now we buy them from a wholesaler, out of state. But a cedar 2x4/8 clear, which is high quality cedar product, for about $1 less each than number 2 treated pine locally. How does that figure? I don't know. So we're not going to offer it. So we're not going to offer treated pine for a while, just because the prices have indeed skyrocketed. All right, Fishing and Picking was there 98 through 2020. So unfortunately, we missed each other there in Cary. So I would have moved. Like I said, I'd have to ask my dad. I want to say it would have been 90, 93, 94, 95, somewhere in there. Okay, 2002. Well, I certainly missed you, but yeah, what a small world we live in, isn't that right? That 2 people talking on YouTube have both lived in Cary, North Carolina, not at the same time, but in the same general timeline. Well, guys, tell you what, so we, per usual, we've gone a little bit longer, but that's fine. I enjoy talking with you guys. I don't have a heart out today, so figured why not spend time with some people I enjoy speaking with, right? So, guys, I appreciate you guys sticking around with me. I really do. It's been a great time. It's been a pleasure talking with each and every one of you. If you guys have joined us, but you haven't said hello, I want to say thank you for joining us. For all you guys that come and gals that show up each and every week, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. As I always say, I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors, and I'll see you guys next time.